Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Derek Robson Yale, and welcome to another episode of the Horizon on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. And I would like to extend my warmest greetings to all of you watching us and to encourage all of you to continue to follow the network on Facebook and on YouTube as well. And if you have been watching us, you know this is the Horizon. We are here about discussing real issues, and also we're not about gimmicks, no fluff, just real talk on the horizon. And for the next episode, we have a beautiful program planned for you. And just to give you the outline, this is the introductory part of the show, and we will be giving you updates on major issues happening in Liberia and around the world, or specifically diaspora Liberia. And we'll have our lightning round, and we will be honoring the presence of presidential candidate in the 2017 general elections. The only female candidate in the 2017 election, Madam MacDella Cooper. We will be honoring her presence on the House Zone tonight. But before we do that, let me introduce you to my panelists for the night. We have Mr. Jawinkin Weird, Blue J. Choppy Charlie, the Lord Mayor of Bentor, Bobby Mitchell Crawford. Let me take this time to welcome all of you to the show.
It's always good to be here.
Thank you, Bobby. And Bobby and Michelle Crawford, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Derek. It's always a good thing to be on the show. I'm happy.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Ja Winkin Weir.
Hey, it's an opportunity to get the minds of the great guys.
Thank you very much. Have the honor of having with us presidential aspirant, the only female presidential aspirant, presidential candidate in the 2017 general elections, and also a presidential hopeful for the election next year, 2023, Madam MacDella Cooper. Thank you so much for joining us on the horizon today, Madam MacDella Cooper.
Thank you so much, Derek, for having me this evening. It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you. And this is the Horizon. You are welcome. And do not make this the first time. Always feel free to come back. And the Horizon, we are about discussing real issues. We are not about the personal attacks. We like to put a different spin to how political trends are discussed in Liberia. But to begin, we would like to update the audience on the rice crisis in Liberia. As of now, I have not any words from the Ministry of Commerce on the rice crisis, but information has been circulating in social media that there has been some pictures of rice arriving in the countries, but we do not have a source to point to. But that is the update we have on that. And it has also been reported today on Monday of this week that former Liberian rebel commander Conti Camara who was being accused of complicity in massive and systematic torture and inhumane acts went on trial in Paris, France on Monday of this week. And if you follow us last week episode, we announced the arrival of Dr. Bev Van Schaak to Liberia, and she arrived in Liberia, if I'm not mistaken, I think Thursday, which we announced last week. And during her visit, she vowed to meet with major stakeholders, including the legislatures, to find out the reasons behind the refusal to set up the War and Economic Crimes Court in Liberia. So that's it for updates on the horizon this week. And I would like to take this time to begin the lightning round. Madam Cooper, let me start the lightning round with a very general question, very specific question to you. Since I got the news that we will be having you as guest, I have been on your organization page and been doing some research. And I must say that standing in admiration for the work you have done, what you have achieved. And I must say that you've been an inspiration for a lot of, not just women, a lot of Liberian, given where you came from and what you have accomplished. My question to you is, what is your biggest inspiration to do all that you do?
Well, thank you very much, Derek. And once again, I want to thank the Lrtn network for this invitation. And it's wonderful to see some of the experts in the field on here tonight, from Mr. Crawford to Jawi Ken to Bill J. Thank you guys for being on here this evening. It's really an honor to be here. Going back to your question regarding the inspiration around why I started the MacDella Cooper Foundation, it sort of goes back to my own story. And again, I know you have your time frame in terms of how things supposed to happen on the show, but I hope I don't go too much far over your time. And so I'll keep my response short and sweet. The foundation was started back in 2003, but the foundation story is my story. I was born and raised in Liberia, Monrovia to be exact. And in my infancy years, my mother, being a very young woman, took me to live with her great grandparents in the village of Inyakan, which is in River G County. And so I grew up in Inyakan. And it wasn't until the middle of the 1980s I moved to Monrovia for the first time. I think I was about 9, 10 years old, and I moved to Monrovia to live with my mom, who had now gone back to school. She had graduated from school. She got a nice job, married a wonderful gentleman who was not my biological father. He was my stepfather, but he raised me as his own child. And so fast forward, live in ELW area, went to Calvary Baptist High School. But by 1987, my father then, put some money together to build a house in Garnersville right behind St. Michael's. And so I enrolled in the Jimmy Jolokon school there, which is not far from my house. I attended Jimmy Jolokon, but by 1990, my brothers and sisters, my step siblings were enrolled in Cathedral High School. And so long story short, I enrolled in Cathedral High School to be, part of the cool circle that I thought my brother and sister were in attending Cathedral High School. But it wasn't long after, in 1990, the war started and, things got chaotic. My mother had to flee with the 3 smaller siblings. And my older siblings and I stayed with my stepfather. And when the rebels reached our house, they took him for questioning. And I never saw my father again. He was pronounced dead eventually. My brothers and I fled. We ended up in a refugee camp in Ivory Coast where we spent, a couple of months until we got in touch with my mother. And my mother was able to get a hold of my birth father. And then she and him worked together to get us an immigration visa to come to the United States in 1993. And when I landed in America, I was so poor. We were so poor. My mom, who was an operating nurse in Liberia, was working in people's homes, cleaning houses, putting, to put food on our table, while living in the projects of Newark, New Jersey. Life was not easy. You leave a war, you go to a refugee camp, you live as a refugee in Ivory Coast, then you finally come to America. That was supposed to be, this your moment, and you find yourself living in the ghettos of Newark, living on food stamps. And long story short, but I was lucky enough to have discovered that there was free public school. So I enrolled in a free public school. But my overarching ambition was to go to college. I really want to go to college, but I knew I didn't have the money. And so the principal of my school told me that if I got a 2.5 GPA, a grade point average or higher, they would help me get the money I needed to go to college. And so I worked hard. I didn't mess around. I didn't do anything else besides just focus on my housework and my schoolwork. And I got a 3.7 and graduated number 3 in my class of 1,200 students, which was a big deal in Newark in 1996. It was a big deal because I'm a refugee girl coming from Africa, war-torn country, and now graduating at the top in her class and getting a free academic scholarship to go to any university of her choice in the state of New Jersey. I enrolled in the College of New Jersey, got my bachelor's degree, but before I graduated, I was hired by a corporate firm to go and work in Manhattan on a full-time basis, with a full salary and benefits and what have you. It was my moment. It was my moment. But in my moment, I couldn't stop thinking about those young people in Liberia that didn't make it. I didn't have the chances I had. And I didn't get chances because it was handed down to me. I worked extremely hard. And so I started the MacDella Cooper Foundation to assist as many young people as possible to have similar chances. And so we focused on feeding people at first, but then we started, focusing on education, giving folks young people access to healthcare, housing, and all those things. And so it was, the foundation was birthed out of my desire the blessing that was granted to me to give to as many young people in Liberia as possible, because I know it didn't come easy. If you're not a government official, child, son, daughter, cousin, nephew, you don't get that level of scholarship to obtain an education. So for me, it was very important that the blessings that was granted to me in the United States, I went back home to bring that same sort of level of blessing to young people, especially the girl child.
Thank you so much, Madam Cooper. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I think it's a very inspiring story for, especially for many Liberians that have had similar paths as you. And there are a lot of things. There are a couple of things that you said before I move to the first panelist for the question that I am familiar with. You mentioned the refugee camp in Ivory Coast.
In Danane.
In Danane, I used to live on a refugee camp as well.
Same
Wow,
here.
Yeah, in the
wow. Who
right.
else was there? Crawford?
Bobby Mitchell. Yeah, I used to. I was on that refugee camp,
Well, I
and
wasn't necessarily on a refugee camp though.
Oh, man, you look too
well,
shiny to be on refugee camp. You look like
I know,
refugee.
right?
You look too shiny. The man with the nice house there up the street one was still begging for food on the line.
Yeah, I was on that refugee camp, and you went to Carib after. I used to live like maybe 3 minutes away from Carib after.
Which one? The one 18th Street?
The one in Fama.
Oh yeah, Fiamma, that was the high school. I didn't reach the high school
Oh,
level.
you didn't reach to the high school level.
Yeah, my brother went to the one in Fiamma. That was the big children in school. I was small getting in the
Your
small.
your your, your other building. Okay, and then I also live less than 10 minutes away from the College of New Jersey. I used to live in Ewing as well.
Really? In
Yeah.
Ewing?
Yes, I used to live in
Oh man,
Ewing.
you been following me? I didn't know all this time yet.
I know. And I went to Newark for I went to New Jersey Institute of Technology in
Yes,
Newark.
NJIT.
Yes,
That's right.
yes.
Great school.
Yes,
Fantastic school.
that's where I went. I just thought to mention that. But let me move on to Blow J Choppy Charlie. You have Madam Cooper, and this is a general question round. Thank you.
Yes, thanks so much. First of all, let me really give Madam some great props. What a powerful story for somebody coming from that period. Matter of fact, I know the area called Yanyanken. I've been in that area before.
Wow.
A very beautiful landscape, the water right there. I think President Tubman got a little stone down there. I think Tubman some people used to go down there a long time ago.
That's right.
I've been in the areas of, it's one of the, I think, natural beautiful landscape in Liberia.
That's right.
But this bring me to this question. I mean, like I said, your story is so powerful and all the work you've done. But I'm just inquiring, considering the passion you have for Liberia and the kind of work you want to do. And I know you've been advocating for girls and other people. I would think that Nyankin would be such a place that your work will really impact what has been. If you have done some work in Nyankin, I don't know about that, but what is the relationship with Nyankin and the people in your work?
Well, Jay, that's a very good question you ask. And we all have this secret conversation with whatever we call our creator. And where I was called to serve was Liberia. I'm not a person that would just focus because I'm from Yankin. I would only serve the people from Yankin. It wasn't my thing. Yes, my mother's side is from the Gribble side, and my father's side from the Pele side. So my mission was to serve Liberians, and so my scholarship went to everybody across the board. It went to Gribble children, went to Bassa children, went to Crew, Gio, Mano, everybody. Children alike. So it was, for me, I was just helping Liberians because first thing, I'm a global citizen that hails from the Republic of Liberia. That is who MacDella Cooper is. So to say, I will only do things for the Iyankan people because you see, my mother was called to serve her people in Iyankan. So my mother goes back every year. She kill a cow. She collect money from the family. We have a family group. My brothers and I. We put money together, and my mom goes every year and kill a cow in our town. She feeds everybody. She takes my cars, my drivers, and she will destroy my car because by the time my mom my car ain't in good condition anymore. so that, and my mom gave scholarship, and even the school I had in Monrovia, I knew there are a few children that came from River G that attended my school. So, but they were under my mother's scholarship there. So my mother was hauling children, and then she was still collecting money for her children and us. Me and my brothers and other siblings, she was collecting money for us to pay the children tuition. So then during the vacation time, she would carry the children back. That when she would go back to go do, I think Christmas time, she would have a big party every year. My mother doesn't miss a beat. So the people in Yankin, in my own hometown, had Caroline, who is my mother, that was advocating for them. And you see, I don't just have a relationship with Yankin. I have a relationship with the Republic of Liberia. And so you ask, I understand the question you're asking, but my girl, you from Yankin, what is your mark you've left in Yankin before you say you want to come outside to come deal with Liberia? But I wasn't called just to Yankin because I saw that they have an advocate, my mother and other incredible citizens from Yankin who was taking care of them. Even my pastor, my steppa who raised me, who I consider my pa, J. Benin Deble, J.G. Benin Deble, Deble, in the Deble family, my sister Tanya, Benjamin, Joey, they raised money to go back to do things with the old people in Jidepo. So you see, we all have heard from our Creator where we are called to lead, where we are called to exercise our will, because this is a free will. You didn't decide to start a foundation, but I did, right? So we all hear that magic word, go over here, you go there. So unfortunately, to your question, MacDella Cooper has not just been advocating for the Gribble people. MacDella Cooper has been advocating over the past 20 years of her adult life, advocating for the Liberian people.
If I want Mr. Murdoch, just a quick follow-up.
Yeah,
and I really appreciate the comments, but you know, I had a chance of reviewing your work, and I saw your platform for 2017. And my question is based on one of your platforms that talks about decentralization.
Right.
Charlie, we have
my question. My question now.
We have a section for that. I would like to.
My question is related
when we get into that.
Yeah, but listen. My question is related to this very issue. I'm saying that
you can reference this when you get to that time to ask that question. But
okay,
I would like to move on to Mr. Jawinkin Wian. This is the general question round for our exclusive interview with Madam MacDella Cooper. Mr. Jawinkin Wian.
Okay, good evening, Madam Cooper.
Good evening, Jawinkin.
My question is, Liberia, we have had President Salif, the first female president, that Liberians thought would have changed, would have done something differently from the men that have been ruling Liberia. What makes you to think that the problem we have in Liberia is corruption? What makes you to think that what she failed to do, you can do that?
Well, thank you so much, Jawinkin, for that question. And as you very well know, that Madame Sirleaf and MacDella Cooper are entirely two different individuals, not because they're different, they're from the same gender. We have two different experiences, two different backgrounds, and we all function based on our experiences. And so Madame Sirleaf came in and she did what I felt, my personal view is that she came post-war Liberia, where with just a few years, prior, we were fighting and killing each other. Like we've never, like we didn't even know each other. We were the same people. And so she had to take, and create a government to function so that international folks can come in and work with us and not to see us as animals or see us as these people who are just bloodthirsty to kill. And so she brought a certain level of light onto Liberia because as a person who floats around the international community quite often, and with high-profile individuals, I have access to conversations that, from my perspective, Madame Sirleaf brought a really good light and a certain sort of, likability to Liberia. So when the name Liberia was mentioned on an international scale scene, people said, "Wow, you guys did something incredible. You elected the first democratically elected female head of state on the continent. Bravo, Liberia." So there was a lot of bravo. And people liked her internationally. People liked Madame Sirleaf. So everywhere I went, I got a pat on the back from my colleagues. Now, what she was doing back home is a totally different story. But I thought every leader coming to do something different that sets them apart from the rest. She came in post-war to make Liberia this soft place, so soften the ground, so that the world can look at us as saying, "Oh yes, they went through this horrible 14 years, but look what they've done. These people have their head on right." And so if they fought that war, they must have fought that war for a reason. Although most of us still had no idea why we fought that war. So that's my sort of preamble to my view on what Madame Sirleaf did for our country. She softened the ground. She softened the image of Liberia. And I was in a restaurant one day and I got a call by the owner of this restaurant called the Four Seasons Restaurant in New York City. I was sitting there having a lunch meeting, and the owner of this restaurant came to my table and said, "Oh, MacDella, Madam Cooper, I have a friend in the restaurant who would like to meet you." And I said, "Well, you can tell the person I'm having my lunch meeting. I will get back to you, and when I'm done, I can probably talk to them." They said, "Look." The guy came. I said, "Anything you can do just to say hi to this person. They have been working for your country. They would really like to say hi to you." And so I said, "Okay, the person can come over." He goes, "Would you mind if I brought you over to the person's table?" And I thought, this is going a bit far. Who is this individual that really have the nerve to want to take me away from my meeting? And so I walked over to the table. It was this gentleman called Bono from YouTube, the music group. So
That's huge.
Bono was dying to meet me. And so I finally walked over to Bono's table. He said, "Look, I heard you're from Liberia, and right away I want to talk to you." And I said, "Yeah, what can I do for you?" He says, "I have been working with your president, Sirleaf. Do you know who she is?" I said, "Yes, of course I know who she is." He says, "She and I have been going across the world, and I helped her to get your national debt pardon forgiven." And I said, "Wow." All of a sudden, I didn't care about this guy, but I had massive interest in him. Because if someone who's not from my country had been working with my country to advocate to get a $4.6 billion debt pardon, I thought that was huge. So again, I look at some of the things that she did in a positive way. And the idea of nepotism, it says in our laws. Nepotism is against our law, right? And so she did her things that no one understands, because sometimes leaders make decisions that is not popular, but they stick with it. Why did she hire her children in her government? I don't know. I wasn't there to be a part of that decision. But I'll tell you this much. MacDella Cooper does not intend to hire family members in her administration. We got to learn from the mistakes of the past, because Madame Sirleaf went down, a part of her legacy went down as corrupt. Now, was she the one who was doing things? I don't have the evidence on hand. And that's the great thing I like about this show. If you don't have the evidence, don't speak about it. I wasn't there. I didn't have the evidence. And so Madame Sirleaf did some good for our country. And that I will continue to praise her for. The idea of nepotism and the corruption towards the end of her administration, I don't support corruption at all. Because like the former ambassador, Linda Thomas Greenfield, said, corruption is stealing food and resources out of the mouth of the innocent and the poor. And so I don't support any administration that will steal resources out of the mouth of our poor people. So, John Weekend, to your question, I don't intend to redo what Madame Sirleaf did. I don't intend, the great stuff, yes, we can continue what's not broken, continue it. But what was broken, make sure we don't repeat those mistakes.
Thank you very much, Madam Cooper. Bobby Major Crawford.
Madam Cooper, welcome to the house room.
Thank you, Crawford. I appreciate it.
All right, let's do some house room over here.
All right.
I would like to draw attention to a front page story that was actually curtailed from the San Francisco Chronicle. Speaking during the forum organized by young innovative Liberians in California in 2015, you say, and I quote, "I have no interest in politics, no political ambition. I should say I do not want one. I have enough money to buy it because everything in our country is up for sale. If I meet the right person and offer them the right amount, I could have the best political post, including the presidency." How do you reconcile this statement, given the fact that a few years later, you contested the 2017 election in Liberia?
And which year was that paper put out, or that article put out?
2015.
2015, got it. Okay.
It was curtailed. The Front Page Africa published the story. It was curtailed from the San Francisco Chronicle.
Well, look, 2016.
2015.
2015, sorry. I had no intention of running for office. And so an article that was published in 2015 is 2015 is a completely different year. It's 1 year older, 1 year passé from 2016 when I got into the race to run for office, because I guess I looked around and didn't see individuals that I thought could do the job. And so I entered the race. But so we can look back at anyone's existence and say, well, you said this in this number of years, and bring it up. And you said, where are you now with it? I entered the race in 2016. That tells you I changed my mind, or at least I changed from not having any political interest. But I became interested because I wanted to see my country go forward. I want to see things change. As a private citizen, I was building schools for young people. I was feeding young people. I was giving scholarship to university students. I was giving microloans to women's groups. That's not a private citizen's responsibility. That's something that government should do. Government should give folks the agencies to help them obtain the resources they need to make their lives better. And so when you find that government is not doing its job and private citizens have to invest their own resources, then maybe more private citizens should go into government. And so you ask me, how do you rectify that, or how do you reconcile?
I said reconcile because
how do you reconcile that?
Yeah, well, politics was for sale in Liberia. That was it verbatim. You said politics was for sale in Liberia, and if you wanted to be president, you just have to offer someone the money. You have enough money. That's verbatim.
I do have enough money, that's for sure, Crawford. So. And look, I'm not going to discuss Liberia politics at this time in the sense of what was said in 2015. That was said in 2015, and that will be left in 2015. To bring it in 2021 or 2022, I'm sorry. I don't know how.
But do you regret making that statement because it's a damning characterization of Liberia politics?
What about that thing? What about my statement that's damning, Crawford?
Well, when you said politics was for sale in Liberia.
Well, okay, Crawford, hold it right there. Have you been a politician before? Are you a politician?
I'm not a politician.
Okay, so let me explain to you as a politician. When you decide to become a politician, you have to join a political party, and it is not free. You have to pay dues. It's not free. So it's up to you to reconcile it as to how you determine what's free and what's not free. When you enter a political party, you have to pay your dues. When you decide to become a candidate, you have to pay a certain amount in fees to the party, and you have to go for primaries. You have to buy T-shirts. You have to transport people. Look, you can define maybe in your mind, or you're trying to put in the minds of the people that MacDella Cooper said, "Oh, you got to pay." Yes, you got to pay, my man. Nothing is free in politics, because even for me, being the first woman in the Republic of Liberia to have established a political party, giving young people the platform, the disabled, the women, and the unconventional male candidates, you know how much I had to pay to start my political party?
Madam Cooper, I'm sorry to interrupt, but just to follow up on Bobby's question.
Right.
Given the explanation you just provided, do you still believe that politics is for sale in Liberia?
Politics is not for sale, but politics is not free. You got to look. How many women are not winning? How many people are not winning political positions?
So you don't believe that anymore?
Politics is not free. However way you want to twist it, because we can play on words. Nothing in life is free. Politics is not free. Your involvement, to run for Senate, to run for the Senate, you have to pay $750, I believe, at the National Election Commission level. When you go in for a House of Representative, I believe it's somewhere between $350, and then my team will correct me after this thing. We'll do some fact checking. House of Representative, you have to pay anywhere between $350 to $500. For the presidency, you have to pay $2,500.
So just for clarity, that's what you meant when you said politics is for sale.
That's exactly right. Politics.
All right. Okay.
That's exactly right, Derek.
Thank you so much for the clarity. And guys, continue to follow the Liberia Radio and Television Network on Facebook and YouTube. That's it for the general question round with Madam MacDella Cooper. And we will take a very brief break. And when we come back, we will get into the establishment of War and Economic Crimes Court in Liberia. We will see you after the break.
Hi, my name is Martha Tomle, owner of Matisia Natural Hair Salon, located on 44th Street. We are specializing in locks for hair, braids, and etc. Call us for all your natural hair needs. You can reach out at 267-703-2330. If you have pictures or videos you want to send us, you can send it to 267-224-0693.
name is Theophilus Julipon Nelson the First. I am the founder and CEO of Lift Africa LLC. Lift Africa started as an employment agency that has sought the employment of immigrants coming to the U.S. and finding ways and means to be able to start life in this great country. Now we have added airport pickups and drop, car rental, hall rental. As you see, we have a new business location. We started with just a little office part, but today we have a whole complex that we can do a lot of stuff with.
Hello everyone, my name is Geneva Kreitz. I'm the Executive Administrator of Uplift Africa. We have an excellent employment rate at our company. We work with and for you regardless of your situation. If you've ever been in prison, maybe your background isn't great, do not worry. We have a place for you here. We believe in equal opportunity for everyone, especially you. So sign up today and begin earning.
My name is Emmanuel B. Horton, Operational Director for Live Africa. Live Africa is the place to be.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Liberia Radio and Television Network bringing you another episode of The Horizon. Tonight we have with us Madam MacDella Cooper, an exclusive interview. The first part of this interview, we did ask general questions to Madam Cooper. For this part, we are going to be talking specifically about the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court in Liberia. I would like to welcome my panelists back to the screen, including Madam Cooper. And guys, continue to follow Liberia Radio and Television Network on Facebook and YouTube. And let's get into the conversation about the War and Economic Crimes Court in Liberia. We all know that the Accra Comprehensive Peace Accord, which ended the 14-year civil crisis, called for the establishment of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which documented several atrocities and, among other things, for setting up a special court to try those who bear greater responsibility for the war. Well, unfortunately, we've been through two administrations, and the War and Economic Crimes Court has still not been set up. So we would like to talk to Madam Cooper about that specifically. Madam Cooper, I would like to open up the question on this.
Right.
What do you think is the primary reason for which through two administrations, the War and Economic Crimes Court has not been set up in Liberia? What do you think?
Well, look, if I were to take a jab at it, it's like most things, Liberia doesn't have its own resources to do a lot of things. And this is why Liberia has to go out and petition for the necessary funding to come and establish the court. And of course, there are folks in our society who do not, who are against the establishment of this court. Whether it's because of political will or the inability or the reluctancy to establish this court, but this court is going to be good for our country. I really do believe that this court will be good for our country, especially with regards to moving Liberia forward. Some of the atrocities that occurred during the war, we got to make sure those things are not repeated, and we have to show some examples. So the reasons why it has not been established, I think, is because of economic reasons and also the lack of political will.
Lack of political will, you mentioned the lack of resources, and you also mentioned some folks against the establishment of the court.
Right.
Well, I will get back to you on that, but let me move to Mr. Jawinkin Wia for his question on this topic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Madam Cooper, the special envoy from the United States said that the American government is willing
to
provide support for the establishment for that court 100%. Now, you are now in political power. And she said to begin that, she'll begin with the national legislature to pass a special legislation to deal with that situation.
Right.
What can you do to help that process as a citizen, not a political figure?
Right. Well, what we can do is what we normally do, where we have, bills that we want to have bills to be put on the floor, or bills to sort of get pushed up to the upper house. Now, look, what we can do is to advocate with our colleagues amongst the lawmakers. We have to go across aisles and just continue to advocate, get groups of people who are interested in seeing this war, crime squad becomes a reality. We have to advocate. We have to talk to our colleagues. We have to get as many people as possible to go in, whatever is needed. If we have to bust people out to, look, we don't want to go as far as doing a sit out, but that's like sometimes when the lawmakers are not listening, sometimes that's what you have to do. And we've done it in several situations, and we don't want to go that far with it, but we would just hope that the lawmakers, our colleagues in the house, in the lower house, will do all they can to make sure this is established, because this would be beneficial to our country in so many ways. And
Thank you, Mr.
I think that's what I would do to advocate.
Thank you, Madam Cooper. Let's move to you, Lord Choppy Charlie.
Well, I think I kind of agree with the point that the lawmakers has a responsibility to play here in passing laws to establish a code. So I don't know what else to say because Madam Cooper has raised a point perfectly well that the burden lies on our legislature. Except as furthermore, then I really don't have much to say on that.
Well, Bloja, let me say this also in addition to what you just said. Not just advocating with the lawmakers alone, but making sure we get the right folks across the country, from the civil society, from government, from all walks of Liberia's life. We got to get people on board. And we, the ones that have the international connections, and we got to make sure if the United States government has agreed or and have pledged and committed to the establishment of this court, that means they're going to come on board to help us find the resources. Of course, we cannot just throw our burden on the United States government, because Liberia is not the United States. We do have a development partnership with them. And so, of course, USA will come in and other development partners will come in. We have to advocate on Hill in Washington as well. So we're going to be doing multiple, and also in the region, because it is going to affect the region as well. So that's to Derek's question, to Jawikan's question, those are the level of things we have to do. The lawmakers in country, regional, and also go on Capitol Hill in the United States and work with local citizens to make sure the law is passed.
Thank you very much. Let's move to Bobby Mitchell Crawford.
Thank you, Madam Cooper. The establishment of a war crime court is where cattle law in the Liberian Truth and Reconciliation Committee report, right?
Right. And
as a leader of the Liberian Restorative Party,
the movement for One Liberia.
Now it has changed to the movement for One Liberia. Okay.
For the past 2 years.
Okay, I stand corrected.
It's all right.
Do you, if given the opportunity to be president of Liberia, do you believe in the full implementation of the Truth and Reconciliation Committee report that talk about people that participated in the civil conflict should not hold public office?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, the law is the law, and I live by the law. We cannot twist the law because of some individual that we like and we don't like. We have got to apply the law across the board, and that's why Lady Liberty, that stands in front of the Supreme Court, our court in Liberia, she has a blinder on her eyes, because she's not supposed to look and apply the law based on her, her interest in the person. And so I think, to your question, Crawford, I think that the law should be applied. And so if your name appear in the TRC report, if there was a recommendation, we must follow those recommendations, because that's the only real and surest way we can have reconciliation and peace in our country. We can't continue to have these individuals that committed atrocity against our people, and leave them to walk around our country and act like they're normal citizens like you and myself. I'm sorry, those days should be long gone. And as a leader, I will see to it that the War and Crimes Court is fully implemented. It's fully implemented without any preference in the process or special privilege.
Can I do a follow-up, Mr. Moderator, please?
Yes, please. Go ahead, Bobby.
Well, it is a good thing now to see that you supported of the establishment of
100%.
Yes, but during the 2017 election campaign, you were more or less leaning toward reconciliation, because whenever the topic of war crime code was brought out, you were more toward leaning, reconciliation, to reconcile among Liberians. This is something that you didn't discuss extensively during your campaign. What make you think now it is pivotal at this time? And I'm just a little, just educate the audience here. How come you changed your party from Liberia Restorative Party to the One Movement Liberia? Is that why the name change?
My man, Grandpa, my man, you live in the past. You gotta come to the future. we got technology now. You gotta come to the future, my man. The reality, you're the only person that doesn't know or that don't know that MacDella Cooper was the first woman in Liberia to establish a political party. All the political parties we've been a part of were all for boys. And there's a long fight and struggle that we, the women of the republic, this beautiful republic, that we had to go through to find equal footing to our male counterparts in politics. Because you see, I've always been a person that when I go through something, I have to come out and educate those as to where to be careful and where to move forward. Now, after Madame Sirleaf left her seat as a president of Liberia, I jumped into the race. I was the only woman amongst 19 male candidates. And when I first joined a political party, these political parties are established for boys, and they're ran by boys, and the executive committee of these political parties are all decisions made by men. You don't usually have women. They got women wings on this side, they got youth wing on this side, and it's just very difficult for women to penetrate, any of those decision-making processes within political parties, executive committees. And I noticed has a stand-up bearer for and I will go back to even further, since you like the past, because I'll go back in the past. When I first entered Liberian body politics, I was on a party called the Liberian Union for Liberian Democrats. But again, that was a small party that was, able to pay their rent. We brought them together. We put some things around to make the party stand up on their own 2 feet. And the moment that happened, things chakla. Everybody was so concerned about more money than even running a campaign. So eventually, I moved on to the Liberian Restoration Party, the party of the pastors. When they say pastor, I got a pastor there. But
Thank you so much.
No, but let me complete this.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And so I left that party after the election and established a party that will be a straightforward political institution that will incorporate women, men, the young people, as well as the disabled people and other small minorities in our country. I wanted to create it's called the Movement for One Liberia. The Movement for One Liberia, because as I mentioned earlier in the program, although I hail from the Southeast, and my papa come from Bon County, I'm still a Liberian citizen. When I go out in the world, who are you? Even in West Africa, who are you? I come from Liberia. I'm a proud Liberian woman. And so I support Liberianism. Now, I established this party because I wanted to give women, unconventional men who are with it, they understand equality, they're equalitarian, believe in the equal rights of men and women alike. I wanted to establish a platform where people can just run for office without being played around with. And that's what I did. And I wanted women on the executive committee. I wanted young people as well as disabled people. And that's what we did. And so, yes, the question as to what questions we're asking in 2017.
Well, you were more or less leading toward a reconciliation as opposed to...
I will always believe in reconciliation, because reconciliation means you are establishing a peaceful ground to walk on. You see, even in Ireland, after the whole crisis in Ireland, that we were taught, the folks that made peace in Ireland came to us and taught us in the peace world that says, look, if you go into make peace, you don't point finger to the other person, you accept responsibility. So peace and reconciliation is very important. Even with the War Crimes Court, we will still have to reconcile our people because we have a history of division. And that is why I established the Movement for One Liberia. As a leader, you're not there just to support people that vote for you. You have to be a leader to understand that as a leader, you're there to serve every citizen of the land, and you're there to provide opportunity for everyone equally.
But don't you think there should be accountability before reconciliation?
But you just heard what I said about those whose names are mentioned or name I mentioned in the all of the names that I mentioned in the TRC report, we should put them on trial. And if found guilty, of course there should be giving the sort of sentencing that's equal to the crime they committed. I'm not talking about giving people a free ride. I think I spoke very clearly in the beginning when I said that. I'm not talking about let reconcile this person in the community and then we'll put it all up on trial. No, if you understood it that way, that is not what I'm saying. Those whose name appear in the TRC must be put on fair trial, and if found guilty, they should bear the penalty as according to the law. But yet still, Liberia still needs to reconcile. And reconciliation means many different things. It doesn't mean I side with people who committed crimes in our country. Now, mind you, Crawford, my father was murdered during the war by the rebels. Do you think I would sit there for somebody else who murdering people's families to sit there and let them off the chain or off the... No. So don't misunderstand my brother. I think I have a woman who speak very clearly.
Thank you so much, Madam Cooper. Let me take this time to welcome our panelist, Bishop Haggard. Bishop Haggard, welcome to another episode of the Horizon, and we have with us, as you can see, Madam MacDella Cooper.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I would like to come to you next, but I would like to give you the choice since you just joined the conversation. If you would like to ask your question now.
Yeah. No problem. Absolutely.
All right, go ahead.
Maybe she haven't remember me, but I was with her when she had a program in Philadelphia. I'm the pastor, yes, yeah.
How are you, Bishop? How are you, man of God?
We're doing great.
Wonderful to see you on here.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure seeing you as well. Great. Right. I just want to congratulate you for all of the efforts in promoting the woman in terms of the politics. I think it's a very difficult terrain, and you are making some headway, setting the page for other young Liberians, female, to take from you. Today, in line of what Bobby Crawford said, I just wanted to get your opinion, because this issue about the war crime code, as you all know, is a very important thing, but it's a very divisive thing.
Yeah.
Because most of the people who have been elected to the House and to the Senate, they're supposed to enact that law from the TRC report, but they are all anti-war crime candidates, and the population elect those people. So if we are advocating for war crime and the people elect those who are against the war crime, how do you implement? Because the legislature is supposed to enact the law. The law is just a proposal from the TRC, but supposed to pass through the representative and the Senate to make a law. But these guys go to their people, and their people elected them. And we know that the people, the citizens will have the power. And the citizens, if they elect people who are against the war crime code, don't you think where the nation is right now in terms of whether we should have a war crime code or not, that the population really don't want war crime code because they elected candidates who are against the war crime code?
Well, Bishop, that's a wonderful way you phrased it. And I will say this much. Liberia, we can never fully build Liberia until we have taken all of those who have committed these atrocities out of our society. We need to establish this crime code, war crimes court, get those out of the way who has been tormenting our people, so we can now focus on building our nation. We cannot have people in the society who are hurting, and they have suffered a great deal in the hands of some of these people, and these people are some of the most awful people in the country. We cannot allow that, and we must not allow that. There is no nation we cannot build Liberia on that sort of premise, because the people who in Liberia right now, who fathers and mothers were tortured and killed, they're sitting there. They're unproductive in our country. They're absolutely unproductive. Imagine somebody rape your own daughter. Then you have to live in the house with a person, you have to feed them every day. Then you have to smile with them. You cannot really function in your own home when that person, they have the power to rape your other daughter. Your other innocent daughter who's sitting right next to you now, the person got the power to go and rape her again. If you as a father, do you think you'll tolerate such a thing? We must get serious about this crime. When I fully support the United States and its intention to come and support us to establish this war crime court. It's really important that we do this. We have got to focus on building a nation. Let's get the corrupted individuals out of the way. Let's get these criminals out of the way, and now focus on building Liberia for once and for all.
I totally agree with you. But for the case in study, you recently heard what Prince Johnson said, that he's not a war crime, he's not a criminal, he's a defender of the Nimba people. And if the election is held today in Nimba, Prince Johnson will always win, because the message to the Nimba people is that he is the liberator. He's not a crime. He's not a criminal. How do we reconcile that?
Unfortunately, the jurors are not. Well, the jurors are going to be sort of neutral, so we don't have to worry about. It's not an election being held in a court. Let's not forget that there will be people on the jury, and there will be a judge, and those are the individuals who will look at the evidence that will be presented. That is why I believe in the rule of law, because it has to be fully supported by evidence. This is not where you say, oh, the people from Nima, you sit down on the jury, you think the man guilty, the man not guilty, you decide now. This is not how it's going to be. This is going to be in a different terrain. This is going to be a panel of people who are not connected to Prince Johnson or no. He can anyone can make the evidence or the plea or the case that I was fighting for Crawford's right. I was fighting for Jawiken's right. So I kill Hagar, Bishop, family, because I was trying to protect you. No, those people don't care whether they know Crawford, whether they know Jawiken. Well, they don't care. So I'm not here trying to say this is what the Nibanian people say, and that's what's going to get him off the hook in the court. It's going to be a whole different ball game, and we got to make sure. We have got to make sure, if this is the case, because this is how it should be, it must not be contaminated with the wrong people. And that's something when the United States and other countries, development partners come on board to assist us in establishment of this court. We got to make sure the right people are on board who are neutral. Otherwise, we're just playing around.
Thank you very much.
I guess my last thought on this.
I'll get back to you. Bishop Hagar.
Let a man go, Derek. Let a man speak.
What? I will get back to you. Let me give you 30 seconds because you're not bringing them in.
We got a campaign for people who are really in support of the War Crime Court to be in its House of Representatives and the Senate, so they can make that proposal into bill and pass it.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Bishop Hagar, and to you too, Madam MacDella Cooper. And I cannot stress enough, like all of you have said, the importance of the establishment of the War Crimes Court. I mean, 14 years long of civil crisis. Many Liberians live today with trauma from the war. And it is important, it is a must, and it's time for the War Crimes Court to come to Liberia. Well, unfortunately, we have had two administrations that have been unable to bring the War Crimes Court. What we usually hear are excuses, and what we usually hear are promises. And Madam Cooper, I listened to you very keenly tonight, and you mentioned some of the excuses we've heard and some of the promises we've heard from two administrations. One, you talk about the lack of resources. You mentioned we have a legislature that is heavily bent against the establishment. And you also talk about the lack of political will. And the promise, like other administration has said, we will advocate, we will talk, we will try to get these people to a point where they will bring the War Crimes Court. Now, my question to you is in twofold. Under Cooper's administration, are we going to have another 6 or 12 years of those excuses and promises? And the next question would be, what are you going to do differently, or what are you doing now that will make you to yield that success that the Liberian people need right now?
That's a fantastic question, Derek, and you absolutely you hit the nail on the head, because the excuses you heard before, you heard it from individuals, and I'm not sure if you anything like our dear friend Bobby Crawford, who has a very good historical memory of things that were said in the past, which I think Crawford has a good way of research. So he goes back and look at things that were said. But I wish we could go back and look at what promises were made prior to the election of these two administrations that you just mentioned, the two previous administrations. And I don't think there were any promises. There weren't any mention of this particular topic. There were no discussion prior to the election or the ascendancy to the seat of the presidency. So I'm sitting here this evening prior to my ascendancy, stating that I stand for the War and Crimes Court, for the establishment of this court. So I'm on record, and Derek is going to hold me. I'm sorry, not Derek. Crawford is going to hold me to this in another 6 to 12 years. He's going to remind me. I can give him that much credit. And so that's the first thing. The difference is MacDella Cooper is committing to this prior to her ascendancy. This is not a campaign thing where, it might be popular. And you very well said on this show, it seems like this is a very unpopular topic. And secondly, the difference is right now we stand in a very good position because for the first time, the United States government, other development partners are saying, we will come to your Liberia's rescue. Should Liberia and the Liberian people agree to establish this court, we will come to your rescue in terms of support for the establishment of this court. And so those are the two unique things we have here tonight that we didn't have previously. So the excuse about the lack of resources, that's off the table now. And so once we have the support, the only thing we're going to do is MacDella Cooper's administration's political will, to establish this court in Liberia. And that's my promise.
Thank you very much, MacDella Cooper, Madam Cooper. I would like to welcome Reverend Eddie and Reverend Addy to another episode of the Horizon. And the topic for the night, we are discussing the establishment of the War Crimes Court, and we have with us Madam MacDella Cooper. Reverend Addy, welcome to the Horizon.
Well, thank you very much. It's a privilege to be a member of the panelists interviewing such an esteemed Liberian iconic presidential candidate. I'm looking forward to hearing her vision for Liberia and also ask questions for my clarity. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Right now, we're talking about the establishment of the War Crimes Court. And Madam Cooper, as you may early know, we have 2 men of God on this show, so we're safe. So, right. But yeah, let's do another round of questions. Let me start with you, Blue J. Choppy Charlie, if you have anything for Madam Cooper on relative to the establishment of the War Economic Crimes Court.
Like I said, I don't think I have much on that, except this question we have to continue to discuss this question as we move forward. So I mean, there's nothing much there.
Thank you. Let's go to Bobby Mitchell Crawford.
Yeah, I will go back to Claudia. You ain't got something to say today. I'm surprised.
I don't want to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. But
the brilliance, the eloquence of the honorable Madam.
I'm surprised today, why?
It's the second time.
Let's move. No seriousness, right? I would disagree with you earlier when you said it is the legislative branch of government that can implement or can talk about the implementation of the War Crime Court. I think it is the constitutional prerogative of the executive branch, especially given the TRC report. A commission was established called the TRC by the executive branch. They came out with the report. The implementation of that report falls within the preview of the executive branch of government. And President Weah punked the football in 2019 when he addressed the national legislature that they should go ahead and find ways to see how best they can address this establishment of the War Crime Court. That was dereliction of duty. Now, my question to you, Madam Cooper, you in 2017, right, during the runoff election, you supported George Weah. That's fine, in the runoff. And you went forward by saying that the reason why you decided to support President Weah because he embodies whatever platform CDC has is the same vision that the Restorative Party at that time, before the name change, embodies. So how can you say that now? Mr. Weah has refused to implement, he doesn't have the political will to implement the TRC report as evident by, his ambivalent posture on the subject matter. And you said back then, you said, I like history. Yes, it's good. You said back then he embodies what your vision for Liberia is. How can you, reconcile this statement?
Right. Where exactly? Do you have a tape we can roll back to hear me say that? Do you have a tape?
Oh yeah, when you it was actually curtailed from the front page magazine. I don't have a tape. So when you
have a clipping? Do you have a clipping for that?
No, I don't have a clipping, but it was a story that was published in October of 2017, right after you went ahead, you endorsing in the second round during the round.
Because I would like to reference the exact words. I know you're paraphrasing, but I know sometimes things get lost in translation. And so I would like to really see what because I can't go back and remember words I said in 2017, but I do remember a concept of things that was said. I know I'm still very young. I'm 45 years old. I do have some good memory. And I think when we're talking on this program, we all talked about the lawmakers being a part of the process. I don't think it was ever clarified that the lawmakers were the only one responsible, because you have three branches of government: the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive branch. And when it comes to the implementation of this war crimes court, we know the biggest problem we've had was resources, and I think Derek just said that as well. Liberia barely have the resources to run the agencies of government. Liberia barely have resources to do a lot of things in the country. We are at a point where we have an roughly 85% unemployment rate. And so when you talk about, I just want you to get things clear, Crawford. I know we have a conversation here, but your facts have to be straight. Because when you talk about the Liberia Restoration Party name change, Liberia Restoration Party name never changed. MacDella Cooper established, or maybe you just don't want to give me some credit for the word I keep repeating over and over. I established a political party called the Movement for One Liberia. And so we just got to get some things sorted out so we don't miseducate our people.
But so which one contested the 2017 election? Was that which one is registered now with the National Election Commission?
Well, if you have done your research, you will realize that MacDella Cooper is the political leader for the Movement for One Liberia. So when I speak today, I speak on behalf of the Movement for One Liberia political party.
I understand, but which one of the party contested the 2017 election?
Parties don't contest, candidates contest. So you mean which party I was registered with when I ran in the
which party?
I mentioned earlier that I ran on two political parties' tickets because one went down and we moved on to the Liberian Restoration Party. So I did contest on the Liberian Restoration Party. And when you talk about and I know I've done many shows over the past few weeks to talk about this very topic. In 2017, after I stepped out of the first round, now what every real leader would do is to lead their people, and that's exactly what I did. Now, after the first round was over, I received a call from the former Vice President, Joseph Bokai, and says, "MacDella, you did very well. Congratulations. We didn't expect you to do that well, but you came seventh place neck to neck with Mill Jones. We would love to have your support." And I said, "Let's talk." Now, I never heard back from Bokai's camp. And the Wales camp came on board and asked for our support. That's what people in the second round do in politics. In any election, they start rallying the support of different candidates who have fallen out of the race. And so because we're a very youthful organization, the young people came by and said, "Hey, Madam Cooper, look, we want to go and support CDC." And I said, "You guys can go ahead." They said, "No, Madam, we cannot leave you and go anywhere. You are our leader. We will never go anywhere without you." And from all roads and all things, it seems like the CDC party is going to win this election. And even my chief of staff, wonderful man called Frank Williams, chief of staff came up to me and said, "Look, Madam Cooper, it only makes sense that we'll go and support the party that's going to win the election. And all writing is on the wall that CDC is going to win this election." And so, look, with the convincing of the elders on my team and the Liberia Restoration Party, with the young people on my team, they said, "Madam, you are a leader. We just need you to walk us over there." And that's what I did as a leader, because I had to be selfless and go and support someone in the next round, not because my name was not on the ballot, meaning I couldn't vote in the next election. We had to support someone in the election. And who was going to win? I think everyone on this panel tonight can agree with me to say the writing was on the wall. My chief of staff was right that CDC was going to win that election over Joseph Bokai. And so we, the people who knows how to call stocks, and we buy stocks all the time, you just, you use smarts. And we went and supported the party that was going to win, hoping that when they win, we can all have some influence in making sure Liberia was going to be the winner in the end. And unfortunately, we waited 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and we see no plan of action. We're not going to sit back in quietness and say, oh, because we voted for you guys. We did what the Liberian people wanted. It wasn't MacDella Cooper that made a decision to say, let's go. It was the young people, it was our elders on our team, and the political party that was a part of it that says we must support this ticket because we know they're going to win.
Thank you so much, Madam Cooper. And I would like to come to you, Reverend Addy, and then I will go to Mr. Jai Winkin. We are next. Reverend Addy.
So, Madam Cooper, so what I'm hearing you say, and by the way, thanks for the privilege to be a part of this panel once more. But what I'm hearing you say, we voted based on popularity and not judgment, because it was clear that George Weah did not have the competence before, and doesn't have it now, and that is why we are where we are. So, is popularity contest the best judgment of decisions for the way forward in Liberia, or do we just, get on the bandwagon beyond the better good of the country?
Well, Reverend, if you define the word democracy is a rule that is established by the people, for the people, and of the people. And it is the will of the people. When you're in politics, it's the will of the people that you push and promote. And so democracy can be tricky because it's, if all the people wanted bad thing, everybody. Well, look, the people wanted to go in that direction because let's be real. Let's talk real talk. This is called the hard zone. After Madame Sirleaf's ascendancy to power, the so-called there was a huge division in our country. All that they both people in power again, or they both people want to make sure they both people then win. Liberian people went to the polls and they voted for this current president because they want to try something opposite from what Ellen was. And we're not gonna say popularity. The people saw that people who were educated, clean cut, shiny people looking like Crawford with a shiny suit, then that nice watch, then they say, oh, that kind of people enjoy bro. On the early administration, their job we are here. He would take care of us. We the country people, we the uneducated people, we the go there on the street. He would take care of us. This was the hope of the people. This was the thought process of the people. Let's not be fooled. Reverend, you yourself were there. Maybe you were in America, you were not in Liberia, but on the ground, that is all the people were looking at the time. Who are we to say the will of the people? I put my name on the ballot. I put my name on the ballot, and people say, my God, we like you, but this is not your time. We want this thing here. And so the people went to the polls and voted for this man. And so as a leader, and you are a leader of a church, you listen to your people sometimes. You're not the authoritarian leader that just want to do your will. If you are, look, I don't know what you do in the privacy of your church, but it wasn't based on popularity. It was what the people said they wanted. I was in the race. Don't forget, Reverend, I was in the race. Joseph Yuma Baga was in the race. Alexander Cummings and our dear late Bromsky was in the race. The people said this is what they wanted. It wasn't what MacDella Cooper wanted. It wasn't what Reverend wanted. It was what the people. And so democracy was exercised there. And so we.
So what I'm hearing you. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Reverend.
Sorry, please.
No,
So what I'm hearing you say is because this is what the people wanted, against their better judgment, and I, MacDella Cooper, a presidential candidate who knows the truth concerning the way forward, and the incompetence, which we now see today, was a clear cut from its genesis. So it's a matter of judgment. He made a judgment based on, but the people at the time had not solidified the vote. You endorsed the candidate, President Weah, our president. You endorsed him against your presidential judgment.
My presidential
but you said,
judgment.
well, your presidential
judgment. Reverend, I was out of the race already. I wasn't in the second round.
Right, which I totally understand. You are still a presidential candidate. That's the point I'm making. Right? You are still a presidential candidate. You are the visionary of your party.
Right.
All right. But you went with the bandwagon against your better judgment. So the outcome we
No,
see
it wasn't
today.
against my better judgment, Reverend. It was not against my better judgment. It was
All right. So,
had
so
people.
were you surprised at the outcome? I mean, are you surprised at the
No,
outcome you see today?
absolutely not. If you ask that question, Reverend, I am not
Excellent.
surprised
So,
because that is why I
so if you're
entertain.
not surprised, then why did you vote for this outcome?
Look, Reverend, if you're asking who I voted for in 2016, I voted for Joseph Barker in 2017. I'm sorry, I did not go to the polls and vote for George Weah. But I don't want to sound,
Okay.
I don't want to sound confusing
Gotcha.
here. But the reality is, every leader in Liberia's election in 2017, when they fell out of the race, went behind somebody.
Right.
And you saw the vast majority of the people, and the people had a choice to choose. They had a
Correct.
choice and the right to choose who they wanted. And we supported the Liberian people. And that's what democracy is. And there are some leaders who decided we're not going to vote at all because their name was not on the ballot. They didn't go to the polls to vote. They left their flocks to scatter everywhere and do whatever they wanted. And that's not leadership, in my view. Because we have to be selfless, not because our name is not on the ballot. But Reverend, look, the reality is, I think the people had the right to choose what they wanted. And now the people also now understand, well, I decided I wanted to eat that cassava leaf, but that cassava leaf ran my stomach. So maybe I will not touch cassava leaf or la pomoto ran my stomach. So the people got to experience for themselves. You cannot be an authoritarian and tell the people what to do all the time. You have, that's why it's called democracy. And democracy, we must always practice democracy across the board.
Thank you so much, Madam Cooper. Let's move on to you, Mr. Ja Winkin Weah.
All right, Madam Cooper, if I listen to you clearly, I got two things that you said. First, you said you got a call from Mr. Jose Nyimamboakai.
Right.
And after that, you didn't get a follow-up call. So I don't know. Then the second thing you said was that your team wanted your support. They wanted to see where you wanted them to go. So my question is, if Mr. Boakai were to do a follow-up, were you going to convince the team to vote for him?
Absolutely. You're on point. And it wasn't me wanting my team to go somewhere. It was a team coming to me and saying, Madam Cooper, you are our leader. Can you walk us over there? And I told my team, and you can interview anyone from my office today. And you can call Mr. Frank Williams. You can call anybody from the Liberian Restoration Party. I'm happy to give you their numbers. And they will verify everything I'm saying here. Because as a leader, it is our duty to listen to our followers. We cannot be an authoritarian leader.
Yeah, so I understand that. So like if Boakai were to call you back,
if they have follow-up, of course I was going to support Boakai.
You were going to convince
in 2017, of course I was going to support. After I stepped out of the first round and the second round was on, there was only two candidates in the race. It was Joseph Boakai, it was George Weah. And the writing was on the wall that the Liberian people, because Boakai had served in the aliens government and they were done with that government, they wanted to move on. And the Liberian people thought that this administration was going to be the administration to liberate, finally, to help the countrymen children, to help the poor people in the villages, to help the children who felt they were Zogo and Liberia had outcast them. They felt this was going to be the person that was going to deliver hope to them. And of course, the people now are experiencing that hope never came. It was promised, but it never came.
Did you say to them what Boakai was different from Salif?
Sorry?
Yep.
Did you say to them what Boakai was different from Salif?
Absolutely not. That was not my responsibility to make that distinction. It was Boakai himself responsibility to go to distinguish himself from the Liberty Party and Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who he served under for 12 years. It's very difficult to do.
Thank you so much, Madam Cooper. But guys, I think we're allowing Madam Cooper to play hard zone with the hard zoners. The last few questions has been I allowed a lot of questioning to continue, but I think we have deviated from the topic.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because I
think we're talking about the war economics crime.
Exactly.
Also, I allowed that to continue because I feel like people needed to get the answers they wanted. But I think we should. I'm encouraging you guys to keep to the topic on the discussion. I'll come to you, Bishop Hagar, but let me ask you a question on the current administration relative to the establishment of the War Crimes Court. President Wiyat, I think on one of his return from the UNGA, promised the Liberian people that he will put effort into establishing the War Crimes Court. Obviously, he hasn't lived up to that promise. He wrote a letter to the legislature, and it has all just been promises. So my question to you, Madam Cooper, do you think President Weah has the political will? Do you think he has what it takes to establish the War Crimes Court in Liberia?
At this 11th hour, I absolutely don't think so. I absolutely don't think. I don't think Weah has any. He's not going to exercise any political will to make any difference. If he did, it would just be for campaign, excitement or promises or whatever, field campaign promises that he just given to the people and don't have any intention to deliver it. 5 years have gone by. And when this, I don't go too far off the question, but when this government came to power, I told everyone in Liberia, look, this is not the United States. This is not a developed country. This is Liberia. We still have a lot of systems that needs to be put in place before we can give someone 100 days. Most established countries across the world, developed countries, they look at this whole 100-day scenario. And I have to give the people 1 year. So every child got different stages of development. Maybe this is a slow child. They administration. Maybe they'll be like that slow child. I can't talk soon. I can't walk soon. I can't do many things soon. So let's get in 1 year before we start expecting too much. After the year, we realized that it just nothing was going anywhere. So we at least waited before we started making any judgment calls or criticizing. We waited for at least one physical year.
Thank you, and I'd like to move on to you, Bishop Hagar, and Bishop Hagar will be the last. We'll take the last question from Bishop Hagar, unless any one of you guys has another question, and then you will be the last. But Bishop Hagar,
I just want to follow up on what Madam Cooper said, but give you 1 year. Government is not an experimenting field, though. It is reserved for those with the requisite talents and personality. So if we can acknowledge that, we'll continue to give support to people who have nothing to offer.
You're absolutely right. And Crawford, this is why when MacDella Cooper sit and talk about the need to educate our people, we have close to 70% adult illiteracy rate in Liberia. How do you expect people to make judgment calls and decide whether this person is a good person when we leave our country uneducated? When all of our educated people leave the country, and they have every right to leave the country to find better life elsewhere, but we have left the country now to those who are not getting adequate education, barely getting any level of health care or even proper housing. Look, our people, they're suffering. Our people are suffering. So anything that come and look shiny, they people go for it. And if you, as an educated person, at least you come across as one, I don't know your credential, I'm going to research after this, but when you look at the definition of in the communication world, they talk a lot about the level of people who are easier to persuade. Now they say uneducated people are easy to persuade, emotional people are easy to persuade. And so if you look at a study, that particular study, you will see that if the people don't have a means to ask questions, to look for facts and data to support what's being said to them, like you guys are doing your show, you're going back and digging into things, that creates a problem. Someone can come and say, "Oh, I will do this." How are you going to do it? Ask the hard question, like they asked the question on Zoom here. This is the way we have to start asking our candidates what they're going to do, how they plan to do it, and give us some hard facts on that.
Thank you so much, Madam Cooper. Let's move on to you, Bishop Hagar, and that will be our last question for this topic. Bishop Hagar, you're muted. Go ahead.
That the World and Economic Crime Court is very essential to take our nation forward. Looking at you being a female, and in considering our population of Liberia, we have a lot of female in Liberia. I just want to ask you how successful you are in mobilizing the female of Liberia, the women of Liberia who were massive victim of the heinous crime committed against our people. I'm saying that in the context where we see a lot of women supporting some of the candidates who are perpetrators of war and crime in Liberia. Are you getting support from the women of Liberia, how confident are you that they are going to support you in these endeavors?
Well, look, no election is ever easy, Bishop. No election is ever easy. We're gonna have to get our hands dirty, go to every town and village and talk to the people. We have been working in 2020 during the midterm elections. We established this thing called the Lapa Revolution, bringing women together from all different political parties, different education background, different tribes, different counties. We brought women together to support female candidates. My party was newly established then, and I didn't run for office at the time. I just decided to promote and support women candidates and those unconventional men, because the women, we can fight all the fight, but we do need you guys. We need men with us as well, to make this thing happen. And now we went and we supported female candidates in different counties, but it was tough because of economic reasons. The women could not win. A lot of the women had good, manifesto. They have good platforms. They want to do good in their community, and they had been doing good in their community for a very long time. These women have been serving their communities. They have been supporting, education and all the healthcare across the board. But when it came down to providing those T-shirts that the people wanted, to provide the different resources that the people wanted, these women were having a hard time because the women don't run the economy in our country. Very few women, they get money, they have to feed their brothers' children, their sister children, their ma and pa. They take on the burden of our society and they have become the backbones. But when it comes to the control of the economy, the men run the economy. Yes, the women have access to the microeconomy, which is the market houses, the small vegetable and fruits that's sold on the market, the people, the fish, and these things. The women are the ones who run that level of economy, which is called the microeconomy. And so women are having a very hard time economically in making things happen for them in politics because they just don't have the resources. And the male counterparts, even in the political party level, would prefer to give the tickets or the seats at those, the tickets, meaning they put the names of their friends on the ballots before they would think about giving it to a woman because they know, this is a boys' club. It always has been. So we worked a lot. We got Boto Kanen from Bapalo County. We fought for that woman to get in. We were fighting for Eden Gonglo. We were fighting for other females across the country, and we did a great job. We even went up to Supreme Court level because they were trying to cheat some of our women. And there were people who were calling me constantly and saying, that you're fighting there. That Boto Kanen will never win Bapalo. And we said, yeah, we will see. So if you think since she's so powerful, you think you can take the Bapalo County votes away from her. So you go do your thing now. But Boto Kanen won that seat. And we, the women of Liberia, when it came to going to the Supreme Court, we band together under the umbrella of the Lapa Revolution. And every woman across the country, we came together, we raised the money needed to make sure we paid for the Supreme Court fees to get Boto Kanen's case on the deck. And of course, the court ruled Boto Kanen the rightful and the winner of that race, and we were able to carry her to the Senate, which was a momentous occasion for us. So to your question, the women want to support women, but the women don't have the resources, so it makes it very hard. But besides that, women are some of the most powerful people in Liberia, because with 85% unemployment rate, our men don't have jobs, and the men can come home to their families with nothing in their pocket. Liberian men are very proud men. They are our kings. They are our leaders. They're the leaders of the home. They are our brothers. They are our fathers. They are our sons. But when there's no money in a man's pocket, a man feels shame small to come home for his wife and children. So that's why most of the men in the country don't come home. You have our homes, a vast majority of our homes, so they're being ran by single mothers. So the women are having a hard time across the board. But no matter how much hard time they're having, women are still staying there with the children, trying to put a roof over their head, trying to pay for school fee, trying to pull a small dry rest on a copa. Women are trying their best. But granted, if we can have an administration that thinks about inclusion, equality, building an equal platform for all citizens of Liberia, the youth will also have a platform to stand on. The women will have a platform, and you'll see women will start supporting. But I'm not just there for women alone. I am here trying to be a leader of this country. I understand very well we have a population of 5.3 million people that call themselves Liberians, and then you have others in the diaspora, our scattered citizens across the diaspora. And so when you become a leader, you're not just becoming a leader for a woman, not because I'm a female. I'm just going to run and lead this country for females' benefit. I'm going to take care of every Liberian, and that's my intention.
Are you in contact with the bad person who is a woman? Is she supporting the war crime
Thank
initiative?
you, Bishop Hagan. We have to close this
No,
segment of the
but please allow her to please answer that question.
I'm
Whether
happy,
she's
Derek. I'm happy to answer the man question. The vice president and I have not spoken about war crimes court. No, she's from a different party. I'm from a different party.
okay. Thank you
All right,
very much.
thank you so much, Madam Cooper. And guys, continue to follow the Liberia Radio and Television Network on Facebook and YouTube. This is the Hard Zone. We are bringing you an exclusive interview with an activist, a philanthropist, a politician, Madam MacDella Cooper. We're going to take a very brief break, and when we come back, we will talk about the road to 2023 and Madam MacDella Cooper Day to unseat President Weah. Thank you. Welcome back, or wherever you're watching us from. This is the Liberia Radio and Television Network. My name is Derek Galley, and I'm here with another episode of the Horizon. So tonight we have with us an activist, a philanthropist, a politician, Madam MacDella Cooper with us. And tonight we are having discussions on national issues. We talk about the establishment of the War Economic Crimes Court, and now we are going to get into the roadmap to the elections in 2023. Madam MacDella Cooper is on the journey to unseat President George Manuel Weah. So tonight we will have our panelists quite and quiz her on that. So we again welcome you guys back to the Horizon. And I would like to throughout the night, I would like to open up quite a line of questioning on the roadmap to 2023. Madam Cooper, I see you lay out your research, you lay out your plan for the country after you have after you have won the election. Now, my question to you is on the current administration. It is common knowledge that this administration has failed the Liberian people, or their lives has not improved in any sector, healthcare, education, you name it. My question: how would you grade the current administration performance, and what do you think the biggest failure came from?
Thank you for that question, Derek. And I think you've already said it all. This current administration have failed the Liberian people massively. So when I speak collectively to say we are all very disappointed because, as I clearly mentioned earlier, that this was I said, people, I look back at what, when you go across the country, you hear people talking and you listen to people. As a politician, that's some of the things that we do. As a public servant, that's what some of the things we do. We listen to people and hear what people are saying. And if people really felt that Madame Soli was an educated woman, the educated woman child, and Joe Weah was the country man child, and Joe Weah were going to bring the country together by bringing hope and benefits to the country man child for the first time in Liberia history, because it felt the history of Liberia has been Congo man, educated man, until on the 80s, and then things changed and went back to Congo man again, Chad Taylor Congo man, Ellen Johnson Congo man. And so that was a real talk we were hearing on the streets. Okay. And so first of all, the people went and voted for who they felt was going to bring this balance in the equation. And so when that never happened, of course, the people are disappointed. The people are massively disappointed because the first time you got a son who they feel is a real son, like, bro, they may come from slave ship. They may come from being slave in America, that real native man child. And if the native man child could not rescue the poor people in our country, he came with a pro-poor agenda. Pro-poor agenda that was never in the interest of the poor people. Even the sedition who were in the gutter, in the sun, in the ring, that were yelling around here in like, bro, Joe Weah, what man? Joe Weah, the country giant. Joe Weah went with his cronies and they failed these people? Where are these people going to get hope from? Who they're going to have hope in that they want people looking for? Who is the big question? So how do I rate them? They have been a massive failure, not to MacDella Cooper, not to any of you on this panel here this evening, not to Reverend Ade, not to Bishop. They have been a massive failure to those poor people who thought this was going to be their moment to get their children educated, to at least for the first time go get their body and system check up in good hospital. Because they say, oh, if our son don't care for them, who will care for us now? And it showed the son has not cared for them. So they've been a massive failure.
Thank you so much, Madam Cooper. Before I move on to the next panelist, or actually our first panelist to ask you a question, I know you're passionate to speak about this, and I would like for you to please shorten your answer so we can give the panelists enough time.
Shorten your answer, my man.
Please make your answer. Please make your answer brief so we can have enough time to. I know you're passionate about this, and actually, I want to hear you out, and I know the hard zone audience want to hear you out. So let's give the panelists the chance to ask enough questions and stuff like that, and to keep the pace of the conversation. So I'd like to move on to you, Bobby Mitchell Crawford.
Oh wow. Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to move on to you. Give your question to Madam Cooper.
She will say I like history business because it's all good though. I would like to draw her attention because one of the things that we want to see in a leader is someone who is accountable, right? Someone who's above the fray. At least that's the expectation. That's what I look for in a leader. I would like to draw your attention to this was actually, I know you're going to ask me where I got the story from. It was actually, again, published by the famous Front Page Africa. Are you aware of a group called Boma Women Skill Training Empowerment?
No, I'm not.
Okay. But are you aware that in 2015, to be exact, the Monrovia City Court issued a writ of arrest for you for embezzlement for that particular group? Yeah.
Embezzlement?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was a story that was... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, please, go ahead. You go ahead. You asked the question.
So I will just read it in part. I actually got it from Front Page Africa. It was... So this is what...
Written by who? Which journalist?
Yeah.
It was written by Rodney Sear.
Yeah. So the complaint there in part. The complaint against you was that on May 7, 2006, you received an article of incorporation and certification, as well as skill training proposal, along with few brochure valued at $35,000 United States dollars.
Look, you're gonna like what kind of fool he said on the show here tonight to tell me about brochure worth $35,000. In which country?
Hang on now,
Madam Cooper, let he complete the question.
So, I can actually so now you see I have lost my string of thought. But here's the thing, though: $35,000 belonging to.
And the brochure was worth $35,000.
No, it's not just the brochure. They say you received an article of incorporation
that was worth $35,000.
Not just. Let me answer. You receive an article of incorporation, training materials, and all those different proposals, along with few brochures that were worth around $35,000 United States dollars.
Jesus.
Belonging to the Demo Women Skill Training Empowerment. And you refuse to return it. And they sue you for that.
In which court?
Are you aware? That was in 2006. The Monrovia City Court. If we can go ahead and Google the story, I think it will come up.
Okay, well, no, what I would like you to do, and I will actually ask Derek and the rest of the team to do a special show on your findings of the court rate of arrest, right? Bring the court rate of arrest, and then you get Rodney Sear on this show, and we'll all talk about that particular thing, because I don't even know what you're talking about. There was a rate of arrest of a brochure that is worth $35,000. What kind of brochure? That a golden brochure? It was already in golden.
No, it's not just the brochure. You receive an article of incorporation.
But you are very smart, man. You look very well dressed and very educated, man. In what part of the world you not see brochure article of incorporation worth $35,000 United States dollars, my man?
But it says on training materials as well.
What kind of training materials? Let's training materials.
The reason why I can't say it is alleged because the Monrovia.
Okay. But you see, we have serious journalists in the Republic of Liberia, and that is why I ask you who wrote that article, because there's some journalists who just pay to play. So you have to be able to discern. You're not telling any small Joe here. You're telling MacDella Cooper, someone who spent 4 years in an American institution. If you're going to quote that article, you have to make sure. I don't think that article was ever written by Rodney Sear. I can put my neck on the line. I don't think it was written by Rodney Sear, because Rodney Sear would never go and write an article in a newspaper that says an article of a corporation. I don't care what corporation is for, that was worth $35,000 United States dollars. Look, in political settings, people pay certain young people who can have access in placing articles in paper. So I don't expect a man like you, Bobby Crawford, to go be quoting that kind of thing on that kind of level of show here. I said, I know.
Madam Cooper, I quoted the front page of a newspaper, and before I did this, I did my due diligence. The reason why I didn't say
that was written by Rodney Sear, I don't believe
yes, it was.
Rodney Sear would never.
The reason why I said it's not alleged because he quoted the Monrovia City Court.
Okay, let's do a special show.
Bobby,
arrested. I was
arrested.
I would like to move on from
okay, so what's the accusation there that a brochure article of a corporation was worth $35,000 United States? In which country, Crawford? I want to ask you.
Liberia, but I asked you, but do you know this group? And you said no. That's fine.
No, I don't.
You said that's fine. That's okay.
Thank you, Madam Cooper. Let's move on.
And Bobby,
no, please let
it was written by Barney Rogers, not Rodney Sear.
Okay. So the story did exist. It do exist, right?
I haven't read the full detail of that story, so I can't comment.
What is your question? Let's move on.
Crawford, what's your question, darling?
Yeah, my question, has to do with.
You said, darling, you changed the main question.
My question has to do with solution-based issues in the country. A lot of time, politicians criticize government,
right?
And we have not heard solutions. And I'm interested in your solutions, even though we've heard the big planks. For example, you talk about the education,
right,
and free schools for all, elementary students and all schools in the country. So I'm interested to know how will you pay for this education? What's the cost? What's the timeline? Because if you're going to be elected, you're going to be elected for 6 years.
Right.
So in 6 years' time, you're saying we're going to have free education across the country. How are we going to pay for free education? How does that work?
Well, Blowjay, you do understand that, and that's a wonderful question. You do understand that Liberia already has government schools that's supposed to be free. But unfortunately, young people got to pay 3,000 LD to access the classrooms or the school for their registration. And 3,000 LD is $20 US. But now, especially when the rate is at 150, it's $20 US. And a lot of families have to decide whether to use that $20 US to feed their family, pay rent, put clothes on the family bag, or get their mind part of doctor before they can go pay. They go pay for school fees. So it's still very expensive for most Liberians. There are a lot of private schools across the country, or independent schools, and those independent schools range from anywhere between 5,000 LD to $250 US. So, but when you have 85% of 5.3 million people not working, where are people going to get a job from? And you know what? When we go to the market to sell, or they push or wheelbarrow boys and go set, they barely bringing home decent 5,000 LD. So how can these people? They can't afford it. So what we have to do is to make sure doing it. Madam Saliv administration. Again, I'm not here to sing Madam Saliv praises, but there was a process of partner schools, and so these partner schools came on board to find resources and help run these public schools as if they were independent schools. And that process was attempted to continue during this administration, but a lot of the school fell off because they just couldn't find the support. And that is a process that we need to bring back. We need to find partnership to help subsidize the allocation that's already on the line item for education. Education is supposed to get somewhere around $60-70 million, but they're barely getting $10 million. So we have a lot of volunteer teachers, But I will say this much, Bill J, and I know Derek said keep the answer straight, but it's hard to do it with certain questions. While we are running for office, the mission is to simultaneously start establishing administration, and those administrations start figuring out what is needed to run their administration or their agency. I'm sorry. You establish an administration with the heads of agencies or potential head of agencies, and those head of agencies starts figuring out what is needed, and they go out and start looking for some support. A lot of charities came in 2005, between 2005 and 2012, to help subsidize. And I was part of that team that brought in one of my friends who's a billionaire. And I'm actually here. You see my background in a hotel room calling you guys on this call tonight because I'm a board member of that foundation. And we're having a board meeting. And I had to leave my board meeting to come and be on this call this evening because I know it's very important. And so I brought in this philanthropist that's worth billions of dollars. And he came and partnered up with the Liberian government to bring resources to the Ministry of Education. And so, that was some of the things that we're doing during the last administration, not this current administration, the last administration. Those of us who have contacts across the world. So subsidizing and bringing in partners to help with the different ministries is the way to go. So we're not just looking for campaign money. We're looking for money to run our different agencies of government, education, healthcare, and food security, Ministry of Agriculture, and all those things. So that's how you sort of figure this out. That's how you.
So quick follow up, if I may. I like all the ideas, but again, the critical question is paying for these costs.
Right.
Subsidizing school, subsidizing all of these things. How much? Because we have a small financial speed in the country. So I'm hearing how much it's going to cost to finance free education for Liberia school, and how long it's going to take to do that.
Well,
where would the money actually come from? I mean, I heard about a philanthropist thing, but that's not sustainable. That's not dependable in terms of money. How do we raise capital in the country to pay for this cost? I mean, that's interesting in timeline.
Right.
So
that's a longer answer to your question. How do you plan to finance?
No. I'm not talking about the plan. I'm talking about the cost. How much are we talking about?
It's literally when we're running partnership school program, they said the government said it will only give $50 per child. So it was only $50 per child. But the reality is countries like Sierra Leone, our bordering neighbors, they run education plan that works on $150 per child. And when I ran my school, we were running a per child because what housing, clothing, feeding, and 3 meals per day and paying teachers, it was $2,000 per child. So that's the disparity the public school has, the government school have over private schools. I ran a private school independent private school for over 11, 12 years. And now my students are enrolled in a Notre Dame University where we're paying about $1,200 per year per college student.
I'm not interrupting when I'm talking about
a follow up to your question.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to you, Mr. Jawinkin Weir.
All right, Madam Cooper, you were among 18 other candidates that were defeated by President Weir. Now that you are contesting again, what did you learn from your last defeat, and how are you going to make a difference?
Well, I don't necessarily call it a defeat. I know it was in the time then, being the first time on the landscape. It was, in African politics, you always go a couple of times before you actually get it. And as you very well know, the current President Weir went in 2005, and if you call it defeat, he was defeated. He went in 2011, he was then again defeated, and he ran again in 2014 and was able to get elected into the Senate. And then he ran again. So there was his fourth time running to win the presidency, fourth. That was my first time. So I don't think you call any run particularly a defeat. But what we've learned is that the will of the people will always remain very strong. And that is why we, the politician, is not want any one mechanism or measure or plan or strategic plan that can win the people. We got to go to the people, door to door, talk to Liberian people, give them the assurance that we will do what we said we'll do. And when we get there, we get it done. Because I think it was a Blow J that says, look, we got this great plan. We do have a plan. And one of the things this administration, I was going to say it in the last question, but I think I went overboard with the last question. They didn't come in with a plan. It was just the people hoped that they would do something for them. So we are coming in with a plan, a tangible plan that is different. During the last campaign, there were very few candidates that had planned. Very, very few candidates that said, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. We'll talk about decentralization of government, which was brought up earlier. It is very important to decentralize government. So we have a tangible plan, because without an economy, even the pastors and the reverend and bishop on here can testify. When you're offering, when your congregation doesn't have money in their pocket, they cannot even put offering in the basket. How would the men and the women of God who lead in the house, the religious house, will even survive? Having an economy in this country is very important. It is extremely important. We've come in with a plan to build an economy, create jobs for Liberian people. Because I know Liberian people, when our men have money in their pocket, they're proud. They do the right thing. They send their children to school. They take care of their homes. They stay in their home with their families. And even these two men of God on here knows family is very important. The family unit is extremely important. And this is one of the big problems we have in Liberia. And where does it stem from? When we don't have jobs for our men, when we don't have jobs in the country, our men flee. The family unit breaks up. The whole country chakla. And you see, how can the whole family chakla? Because family, men and women are together. The home is a symbol of our community. The community is a symbol of our counties and our country at large. So the whole country is in disarray today because there is no family unit. That's one thing. We're coming in with a plan to build an economy, put our people back to work so they can have money in their pockets. And so at least our men and women of God who are running these church houses, they can have some money offering in their basket. I'm not just saying it because the reverend and the bishop is on here, but that's the reality.
But before you get that, you need to defeat President Weah. What is the strategy that you're going to defeat him?
The man's going to wake up. They'll be announcing MacDella Cooper as president. I believe him defeat. I'm not going to give my strategy.
Let's go to you, Bishop.
Or what we're going to do to
Bishop Hager. Bishop Hager, you're next. You're muted.
I have two questions for you.
We said one.
First question.
They said one.
And
They say one.
making reference to what I see in the Liberian political landscape. When people win the election, then they have recycled politicians in their government, and no new ideas. Unlike like in Europe, America, all the political parties do have competent people with them, people with conviction. Like if you go to UK, the opposition party, Labour Party, right now have their minister of finance. They have their foreign minister already prepared. If they take power, they go straight into, they know exactly what they want to do. MacDella Cooper, who are those people with you? And if you take state power today that we can look to and say, yes, we have credible people that can run the country. Can you tell us some?
Well, no, I can't give you a list of people who I have on the team at the moment. Some people have asked to be kept anonymous on the team because, people got to keep their day job. You start mentioning a few people name that start being fired from their job tomorrow, then we get small problem in our hand. So at a suitable date, we will have an announcement as to who we have, because one of the things we're doing heavily besides running a campaign is to have a mock government. And what is that mock government? Is exactly what you just talked about, Bishop. Is having, let's say, Crawford is the next minister of agriculture, or Crawford is the next, or Blowjay is the next. We have that in place, and we're still going through the vetting process of those who are going to potentially lead ministry so they can fully understand before they inherit that ministry. They're all going to audit. First of all, we're going to do an audit, right? So everyone have to understand their role and what they're going to be doing in government before we can hand over those administration or agency of government to them. It is very important to do that months in advance of inauguration day, so people are not just scrambling last minute. They'll come and run around like chicken without head and say, oh, you're going to run this agency, you're going to run this agency. You have to fully understand what is needed to run a successful ministry of education. Like, for example, the Ministry of Agriculture, they're barely getting $2.5 million per year. What can $2.5 million do for anybody? It can't be run an agency. And so these are some of the things we're trying to avoid by making sure we have a government in place already waiting before we go and take over. So at a suitable date, Bishop, you can count on that. I will give you a list of individuals that we have fully vetted and make sure they have the qualification and the education background to run those ministries, because we're not going to be running on friendship, just giving friendship opportunities to people versus their qualification. We've seen what that has done. It hasn't produced much for Liberia. We're not going to put Liberia in this crisis anymore, because we're really in a crisis mode.
Okay, now my last question.
We're taking one question now, Bishop Hagar. Let's move on to you, Reverend Adi. Are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
Madam Cooper, as a proponent of democracy, consistent with demonstration of free speech.
Right.
At the time when the CPP attempted to, not the CPP, the Council of Patriots attempted to demonstrate against the George Weah government under the banner Save the State, under the characterful elements of corruption, bad governance, among others, you're on record opposing that demonstration, and further suggesting that members of the Council of Patriots sit down with the government and resolve these issues. Do you not find it a cardinal right of all Liberians groups to freely assemble and demonstrate against their government if that government is not operating in the interest and actually in the interest of the people?
Absolutely, Reverend. Absolutely, and I think I hope you saw my follow-up comments right after that protest. We were on the ground. We had our phones cut off from the internet. We were on the ground, and what I saw, and what I said rightfully was, look, I have never bear witness to a peaceful demonstration in Liberia. I remember in the 80s when the demonstration happened, university students were, some left for dead, wounded. I lived in Liberia throughout the war. Of course, I left in '93, and there was other portions of the war, so I can't say I fully went through the war, but I lived through a significant part of the war, and I have never bear witness to a peaceful protest, and that was the first of its kind post. And my statement was rightfully, look, I have never bear witness to a peaceful protest, and then post the protest, we sat there. The foreign embassies, they had game of action in place. And after the protest was over, I went back on the air and said, look, I'm extremely proud of my country to have seen that this protest went on and no one was wounded, hurt unnecessarily. I was very proud. And then you will follow up and see what I said in subsequent protests that came about. And then I think it was after the 2019, 2020, there was a potential protest that was supposed to be held on January 6th. If you remember that, we were all in court because we were sick and tired at this moment. This government.
Right. So you basically said in that statement that you were quite afraid that those who mentioned
I was living in Liberia. You weren't, Reverend. You weren't living in Liberia. My house is right there in Gongo Town. My house is.
I'm very much aware of where your house is. I'm just trying to put on record what you said, right?
Reverend, you can put on record all you want. The reality is we were on the ground, and there have been so much violence in the country. We were afraid of another violent outbreak in the country, and my concern was legitimate. I was living in Liberia with my children who were born on Park Avenue, New York. We were afraid. We want to raise our children in this country. We weren't sure how qualified or how equipped the opposition was to stand against this government that was willing to do anything to survive or keep power.
So if you want to let me finish, then I'll definitely engage you further. And by the way, I grew up most of my youthful life in the Civil War, and I voted in the 1997 elections.
Right.
My background is in political science and conflict resolution, the master's in psychiatric treatment. Having said that, Madam Cooper, you are on record experimenting with the democracy, yet downplaying the democracy with respect to...
It's not downplaying democracy, right? Because I didn't say they didn't have the right to do it. There's a difference in the linguistic...
I will finish.
I am concerned, and I had a legitimate concern, because
as valid as your concern was, you basically accused...
No, I didn't accuse anyone.
Let me finish.
Never did, Reverend. That's me.
But if you let me state the accusation, then we'll be fine.
Because I didn't accuse anyone, and you're trying to say it was an accusation. It wasn't an accusation, and I think we should leave it there.
All right. So this is what the papers reported. The inquiry newspaper.
As I said, they're amazing. They're respectable, and in the journalist world, they're incredible reporters. And there's some people who pay to play, and so you have to discern those who. That's why I challenged Crawford and said, I know for sure Rodney C.A. did not write that article, and Blow J, who you guys are giving a hard time, verify my saying.
So it was the name I got wrong.
You did get something wrong, right? But I mean,
if I can just finish, my question, I'm almost done, though. I'm almost done. If I can just finish, with all the interruption, I appreciate
that.
Reverend,
repetition is not going to change the question. It's the same question. You're saying I accuse the opposition political parties of staging a protest, and I was against their right to protest. Look, I have the Constitution right in my hand here. Every citizen of the land has the right to exercise their inalienable rights. They have constitutional rights that protect them. The right to protest. I understand that very well. The key word is I was concerned about how well they could stage a non-violent protest. That was
legitimately so, but this is
let's give Reverend Adi.
But this is how you represented your concerns. You said,
what's wrong with that?
No. This is how you represented your concern. You said that those who are trying to stage this protest want to put the people's children in the street, and whilst they are living in different countries and fooling the children to get in the street. This is how you represented your concern, as valid as you were trying to, as skeptical as you were, concerning a potential disintegration in law and order. The truth remains is you were not in support of the protest, by virtue of what you said concerning asking the children out to protest. They should rather sit down with government. And for a fact,
I wanted to see everyone who was in the forefront have their children next to them, and I was not going to put my children in harm's way to go protest against any government. Whether it was
that didn't happen. You just stated to us you were proud. It didn't happen.
I'm not sure exactly what you're getting at, Rev.
Reverend Adi, what are you getting at?
Okay, so that's what happens when the question is not allowed to finish.
No, Reverend, you got to be clear.
Again, I'll reduce it to 15 seconds. Just ask the question.
Okay. So, why did you make the statement stating that
did you participate in that protest? Did you have your children? Did you feel safe having your children on the forefront? Were you going to have your children in the forefront to protest against government? Were you?
So once again, the question isn't finished. So what?
Go ahead. I give you total platform to. Yeah, go ahead.
So what I'm hearing from you is that should we have a MacDella Cooper administration, we may have some sense of fear to demonstrate for potential violence from your government?
Your question is not legitimate, Reverend. I'm sorry. You should never be afraid of proposing or protesting if you have concern. And I think if you're going to protest,
Reverend, allow Cooper.
You should feel safe. And if you're going to put other people's children on the street to protest, you should put your own children on the street to protest. As long as you can do that, Reverend, look, there's no problem. Because if you know you have the right mechanism in place and your protest doesn't have, it's not going to burst into, because who knows what the government forces were going to do against the opposition? We didn't know. All we knew, it was going to be an outburst. Everyone was afraid. Everyone was concerned. Of course, I voiced my opinion. I wasn't the only person that voiced my opinion at the time. And again, like I said, after the protest, I congratulated the opposition for staging a protest that was, smooth sailing. Nothing happened because we have our foreign partners there, making sure we were all protected in the country.
So then, do you owe them
Reverend Adi,
for what? My concern?
Reverend Adi, you've asked enough questions, and we have another.
My question has not finished yet.
We have another round of questions to go.
Then let me get my last question, please.
I will come to you, Bishop Hager.
Yeah, but I was speaking this is a hard zone, please. Let me answer this one question, please. Can I?
Menago, you have
10 seconds, please.
10 seconds.
Yeah, you got 0.0.
The Bible says yes. You said 10 seconds. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have my own clock here. Looking at my own clock.
Okay,
listen,
go ahead.
You have 0.7 in the election. More than 32% of the Liberian people did not vote. What are you doing to attract those who registered to vote but did not vote for any of the party?
That's a great question, Bishop. We are, in December, starting December, there will be, folks will be able to register to get their ID card to go to the polls to vote. And so we're going to encourage first-time voters We're going to encourage those who didn't see any reason to participate in the election. We're going to try to encourage them. We're doing this thing called get out and register to vote, because once the registration process closes, you will no longer be able to obtain an ID card to go to the polls to vote. So it's very important to have it. Even if you don't intend to vote, just have the ID card, because you might change your mind later on. So we started a campaign to get folks, and the campaign is actually also being promoted in the diaspora. So folks can call their friends and family back home and say, get your ID card. It's free of charge. Of course, we're still going through the process of making sure we get the right company to deal with that process. They're talking about biometrics and all these things, which, of course, you've been reading the headlines as to what's happening with that. So we are encouraging first-time voters and those who are reluctant to take any political sides to at least have the ID card available.
What are you doing? Okay,
thank you. Bishop Vega, you said one.
Sorry. Okay.
I know you're encouraging them to register, but those are the now 32%. How are you attracting them to come to you? Because if you get that number, then you already get the presidency.
Right, but maybe you talk offline as to what your ideas will be, because MacDella Cooper alone doesn't have all the answers. That's why I need.
I will provide a consultancy. You will pay me for that consultancy.
Absolutely. That's the same amount you pay me to be on the show this evening. I see my amount.
Well, guys, thank you, Bishop Vega, and of course, thank you, Madam Cooper, for your response. So we are doing another round of questions, so I will come to you. Yes, I will begin this round of questioning. I think it's very important, and I think election is a very important election year. Is a very important year for democratic nations, because it gave us an opportunity to either vote out the current administration if we're not pleased with how they are serving us, and elect another person. And I think what is very important, that Liberians should have the opportunity to know these candidates and to also know their plans for the country. So I must admonish you for showing up to hear the Liberian people, to give the Liberian people the opportunity to hear your plan. And speaking of which, I'm on your website and I see your plans, and I'm seeing you have plans: free education for every child, universal health care, electricity, every home. What I'm not seeing is one of the major issues in Liberia, your plan to fight corruption. So my first question will be on that. How will MacDella Cooper fight corruption in Liberia, as it's very important right now? And another issue that I would like to draw your attention to, this is actually a universal topic, and it is not very common in Liberia. Matter of fact, it's not a very friendly topic for the environment in Liberia. And that is the LGBT community and gay rights, as it is. And we know that during the 2017 election, one of the opposition leaders, actually, it was reported that he defended gay rights and what have you. So my question to you, under your administration, will you legalize gay rights as it is in Liberia?
Thank you for that question, those questions, Derek. To your first question about what you're not seeing on my website, I think you're reading a website from the previous elections. The National Election Commission has a schedule of when we can put things out and what we can say certain things. And so we are currently, my team and I are currently going through a process called research. It's a research period where we're gathering firsthand, I guess, polling. You also call it polling. From the general public, the sampling certain areas and certain communities to get information as to what are those policies, what are those issues that are really affecting lives of the people in 2022 versus 2017 or 2016. And so what you are looking at right now is from my 2017 election. It's not from the 20. So in a few weeks or so, when we get those polls results back, those research results from the team, we got a pollster on the ground who's polling the samples, and he will have a full-on result for us, and then we will update that information. So in a couple of weeks, you look back on that website, you'll see what exactly we're going to focus on based on, again, we talk about democracy, based on the people desire. And so we're hoping to have that in a few weeks. And so with that, we will know what are the issues that the people really want us to tackle. right? You can also be a part of that survey, granted in the area where you are. And go into the next question about same-sex marriage, the gay community, homosexual, the LGBT community. Look, here's a reality, and the reality is, as a civil servant, as a public servant, I'm here to, and the one book I must respect is the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia. That is the highest book of the land that gave us the instruction. And when the framers of this Constitution, what they framed within that, the country was in one accord with it, and I, as a public servant, have to be in one accord with it. Our Constitution doesn't support gay rights or LGBT community at this moment, and so I have to respect the Constitution.
Thank you very much, Madam Cooper. Let's move on to you, Bobby Mitchell Crawford. What is your question?
For intellectual consistency, I will hope that Madam Cooper will not just, deflect some of the questions. If we can just, at least that's my own characterization of it, because I think a lot of the questions that we are asking here it's not being answered, at least to my satisfaction. And I think that's a travesty. At least he can try so that he answers some of these questions.
Travesty.
That's how I characterize it. At least because a lot of the question is being deflected. That's just.
But can you give an example of one, Crawford?
Just the interaction with the revenue. It's a classical example, but that's besides the point. I just want to ask this question real quick. You have the MacDella Cooper Foundation, right? It's headquartered in New York. And I know that foundation has done a lot of good work across Africa, and not just Africa, but the United States and elsewhere. Can you point to a specific project that your foundation has engaged in Liberia, and why is it that you don't have an office in Monrovia?
Wow. Crawford, you went from being up here when it came to research to just dumping down very quickly. And you should do better research because my foundation, I think you just...
No, you have to educate me. I'm
about to do that now. Okay. So I'm not sure exactly what browser you're using, but I guess you don't live in Liberia. I see you're mayor of Bentol, but I don't know if you live in Liberia. I'm assuming you don't. And you probably haven't been there for a long time. Again, I'm just assuming.
I was there quite recently before the.
The way you phrase your question, it sounds like you had evidence that I didn't have an office in Monrovia. I do have an office right in Congo Town. If you're familiar with Catholic Junction, my office is in Catholic Junction area, and I'm especially surprised. I just said on the show, you said my questions were being deflected, or your questions are being deflected by me, but I have built institution, an academy that took children from the streets of Monrovia from all walks of life and put them in an academy where they had 3 solid meals per day. These children had access to some of the best teachers Liberia had to offer. When they graduated from my boarding facility where they had their own private beds, house mothers to care for them, and a nurse on staff, Foley on staff. These children graduated at Notre Dame University's satellite program in West Africa, picked them up because they took the entrance exam and passed it. And so I'm quite surprised, Crawford, for the man you are, you don't know any of that. That means you don't know MacDella Cooper. I have to do a better job getting to help you to know me and the things I've done. And I didn't stop at building an academic institution. I have massive buildings.
What's the name of the institution that you have in Liberia?
It's called the MCF Academy.
Okay, where is it located at?
It's in Charlesville, right? It's 6 miles from the airport on a beautiful piece of property right on the Dew River. And so hopefully next time you go to Liberia, I will give you a tour of the school and meet some of the children that have gone through the program.
Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely.
I hope I didn't cut you off. Thank you so much, Madam Cooper. Let's move on to Mr. Jawinkin Weir. Your question, Mr. Weir.
No, I want to pass on this one.
Thank you. Let's go to Lord Choppy Charlie, and I hope you don't pass on either.
Oh, Charlie can't pass it on now. Well, let me seek a clarification before I can raise this question. The New Dawn newspaper reported in its October 11, 2022 edition just this week that you, Madam Cooper, said that before the CDC government, there was no hardship in Liberia. That since the government came to power, the country is experiencing hardship. I just want to know whether that reference from the New Dawn was accurate before I can ask my question.
Well, I would love to have the chance to read the entire article to get the content for which they were quoting me, because I know I didn't have an interview with the New Dawn paper. So I think they were quoting me for something else from another show.
So you had I think TV interview in Liberia, something, I don't know.
Okay. What is your question?
So okay, all right. So I will go to another question. Since I again are coming back to your plans, I'm more concerned about these plans.
Which plans now? This is the 2017 plans or my?
What your vision for Liberia?
It's not out yet.
Well, I mean, we have the ones that is on record. Yeah, the one that is on record. I don't know whether you agree with the USAID. The USAID did a study on Liberia in 2017 at the end of Madam Salif, the Unity Party government tenure. Mm-hmm. That report was done very well on the government. It talks about the economic depression in the country and many other things. But one of the things it talks about, and I'm relating this to one of your planks about concessionary land for rural people. And the report said that the concession revenue in Liberia has been very elusive for the country. The benefits is not available. So I wanted to know, given your approach to rural development and concessionary, how do you intend to address this question? And I really want to know in terms of dollar and cents and time frame.
You want me to quote some numbers and give you some time frame as to how we're going to accomplish things? You just want to see how intelligent I really am to see if I know numbers. Okay, let's start. Well, I didn't eat my school fee yet, project. But on a serious note, you talk about rural development. Let's start with a concession like Golden Verolium, which is in the southeast. Golden Verolium I believe it's supposed to be up to 200 hectares. I need to make sure I get those numbers right. Right. And they have not been able to establish or at least develop all of it. Golden Verolium, because of the lack of infrastructure, because of the lack of a partnership from the government, they are not able to function in a manner in which they felt they could have functioned. Let's say, for example, they cannot be the only one. Of course, yes, they have the concession, they have the right to operate, they have the right to grow the palm oil, to harvest it and ship it out. They haven't really been able to establish a lot of infrastructure development in terms of the road because they feel that they cannot do it alone. They need a partnership. Government comes in and they come in. And so when you talk about concession holders, yes, Liberia is very lucrative. It's a very lucrative concession, but the business folks have to win and the country has to win. When the business folks are not winning, the country doesn't win. So it has to be a win-win for each person. So yes, you sign a 30-year concession contract, and then you realize there is no proper road to move your products from the farm to the port. And that's when the struggle of Golden Verolium has come. Like, we've had several conversations in different arenas, whether it was at the different economic forums or whatever space we had this conversation. And this is right hand. And even Firestone, one of the oldest concessions in Liberia, Firestone is also having a huge challenge in Liberia, which you're very well aware of. When rubber prices on the world markets plummet, Firestone takes a huge hit when there's no demand for rubber or latex, and you have concessions across the board. So you talk about dollar and cents. I'm not sure exactly what dollar and cents you want me to quote on here to show you the correlation.
Yeah, I'm talking about in terms of revenue and expense for development. So how we approach this aspect of concessionary, since we've not benefited as a country, and as a USAID report said, all the concessions signed under the Joseph Boakai Unity Party government did not benefit the country.
Joseph Boakai Unity Party government, or are you talking about Ellen Johnson's Sirleaf government?
Well, Joseph Boakai is a leader of Unity Party. That was their government, so it's his government.
Well, he wasn't leading at the time. He wasn't the flag bearer. It was Ellen Johnson Sirleaf who was the flag bearer.
Yeah, but that's his party, that's his government. So I'm referring to his party and his government.
Right.
So I'm saying, how now will you use the concession rate that was not used to benefit Liberian people? How will you use them in terms of cents and dollars, generating revenue, and expending those revenue to benefit rural Liberia particularly?
Well, we cannot continue to do the same thing and expect different results. We have been heavily dependent on these traditional concessions agreement, and also the sales of our commodities like the iron ore. We cannot continue to grow our economy when we're doing the same thing, expecting different results. I'm going to be repetitious with that, only because we have got to find new ways to diversify our economy. For example, when we talk about our administration, part of our plan is to diversify the economy by investing in alternative sectors like agriculture. We got to learn to grow what we eat. We're spending $200 million annually in buying rice. And today, you know about this massive rice crisis in the country. And I think there was a conversation about this in the earlier part of the show, I think before we even went on air. $200 million in importing rice in Liberia. Liberia has some of the most fertile soils in West Africa. We have the rainiest rainforest. That means we never have to look for water. We have water within our soil, so we're not going through a drought anytime soon. So we can start importing rice to some degree and start investing in the agriculture sector. Like I said earlier, agriculture ministry is barely getting $2.5 million to operate. The agriculture sector cannot operate on $2.5 million. They cannot. You can barely do payroll with that. And so we have got to invest in agriculture to grow more rice in Liberia. And even there are farmers, local farmers in Liberia that needs loans. But unfortunately, Liberians are not getting the loans. And so that is why Liberia continues to import rice from outside. The second sector I want to focus on is the fishery sector. We have rivers across Liberia. We have the ocean. You got the Chinese, rigging our or at least fishing our waters. You got now Senegalese coming in, taking our natural resources in terms of our fish and selling it overseas. If we can invest in having boats, we have one naval boat in the country, which was donated by the British government, the UK government. We need more boats in Liberia. Liberians themselves need to have access to resources so that we can expand and privatize, not just privatize it. Of course, we can give concessions to certain countries, but also Liberians should have access to funding so they can invest and be a part of the fishery sector. Then you also have tourism. That's the third sector we want to invest in. You can create easy jobs. We're talking about 5.3 million people, 85% unemployment rate. We can reduce the unemployment rate by first training our young people. There are so many, I don't have the exact numbers today. You want me to quote numbers to see how smart I am. But we can take a chunk of the young people in universities, the young people who have graduated university looking for jobs in banks or in government. We can train those individuals to work in the tourism sector, as they do in Gambia and other countries in the region. We can train young people to work in the agriculture sector, but we have to incorporate it with technology, because I know young people are not going to go in the hot sun like their parents to dig holes in the hot sun all day long. So for me, it's the focus is not just the old school concessions. The focus should be on alternative sectors, agriculture.
Derek,
thank you very much.
This is important. I just wanted to. Just 10 seconds. I just wanted to address the sarcasm that Madam Cooper threw my way.
Bobby, we had this round of question was one question per panelist.
I will let
Reverend Addy is the person.
We gotta reconcile. Let it man say peace. Yep, I beg you.
Let's go to Reverend Addy. Reverend Addy, you the last person to draw the curtain on this round. So, what is your question?
My question not coming.
Yeah, you were the first person to ask the question on this.
No, you came after me, so I still have my question.
Reverend Addy.
Thank you kindly. Madam Cooper, in 2015, you spoke to a group in California with the acronym YELL, and these were your statements. I have no interest in the politics, no political ambition, I should say. If I do want one, I have enough money to buy it because everything in our country is out for sale today.
Reverend Adi, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think that question or that article was referenced in the general question round. So,
I actually asked that question.
do you have an alternative question? Because you joined us later on in the show, but that particular article was referenced in the first segment of this show.
It was asked. The question was asked.
The question was already asked.
By me.
You know, it is quite interesting. Like you guys just preempt people's question. I don't understand that. So I'm referencing the article, but you don't know the question I want to ask.
I apologize. My fault. I'll give you 30 seconds to complete the question.
Thank you, Madam Cooper.
Yes, Reverend Adi.
Thanks for listening and thank you for your patience. Since this article was referenced, I believe in the context of corruption. Should you become president tomorrow, will you audit the George Weah government and exact the legal consequences on him as president of Liberia if audited and found guilty of any crimes committed?
Absolutely, Reverend. I will never take over a government until they are audited and make public the findings from that audit, and also use the audit to show what we are doing and what we have accomplished within subsequent time. So it is very important that we audit the government before we inherit it. Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much.
If there's any fallacy, if there's any proof of any corruption, digging resources that wasn't rightfully theirs, of course, the law will apply.
Thank you very much, Madam Cooper. For the sake of time, we would like to draw the curtain on this segment on the roadmap to 2023, and I would like you to close out.
I did not ask my question, right?
You had a chance to. You open up this section. But you know what? Okay, you know what? Bishop Higa.
This is a hard zone, Madam.
This is a hard zone, and one of the rules.
Madam Cooper.
Yes.
2023, you won't be president of Liberia. Do you have any family relationship with George Weah?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any family relationship with George Weah?
Have you asked George Weah if he had any family relationship with me?
Well, I'm asking you tonight. If I get him, I will ask him.
When you do ask him, you come back to me, because sometimes questions are asked to women that are not asked to male candidates. So you might want to, let me see how brave you are to go at George Weah if you got family relationship with me. Before you come to me, I'll answer your question.
But
thank you very much.
Thank you. Liberia, we have to ask you other questions.
Thank you very much, Bishop.
You're absolutely right, Bishop. You're absolutely right. And I'm not avoiding that question.
Thank you very much, Bishop Hiccup and Madam Cooper. Thank you for your response to the questions. And guys, continue to follow the Liberia Radio and Television Network on YouTube and Facebook. This is the Hard Zone with Derek Galley, and we will take a very brief break. And when we come back, we will bring you our icebreaker round. Tonight we have with us an activist, a philanthropist, a politician in MacDella Cooper. We'll take a very brief break, and we'll come back. We'll bring you the icebreaker round. Thank you.
Hey there. Many Liberians are members of social clubs, 501c NGOs, and school alumni. Many Liberians are trying to open their own 501c NGOs, home care agencies, and social clubs. Does your organization have a professional website? Does your web platform have the right wording and content to attract grants? Hopefully you're not running your organization only through social media. There's a more professional route. You need an online space where you can craft a positive message about your organization, making your home health agency more credible, which will increase your chances to receive grants. We'll build you a responsive platform for 501c organizations, healthcare agencies, and other types of organizations. We'll provide you with full website maintenance, membership sign-in, private charts, Facebook and WhatsApp integration, live video feed for all your meetings and special occasions, a dashboard for members to see all the activities, and email and text auto reminders for meetings. We'll build with donors and 501cs in mind, and will help you solicit grants and automatic membership due collections. Building you this amazing platform will only be a membership fee of $19 a month. Call or email us now. Let's upgrade your website. Home health agencies and small businesses You owe it to your company to project the best image possible, and we can make it happen. Visit www.tiamit.com or call 215-966-8679. Ask for Tommy.
At Fatu's, we know what it's like to feel a little homesick. That's why we work hard to bring you the very best and freshest imported foods and supplies from home. With quality design African cloths, beauty supplies, and tasty African food items, you'll feel right at home. So what are you waiting for? Stop by Fatu's African International Market for all of your household and family needs. See you soon.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the another episode of the Hard Zone. My name is Derek Yale, and you're watching the Liberia Radio and Television Network. And continue to engage the program in the comment section and continue to share the program on your individual Facebook page as well as wherever you may want to share it. And tonight we have with us Madam MacDella Cooper, and this has been a very interesting conversation with her. We have talked about a wide range of national issues, including the establishment of the Economic and War Crimes Court. And we've also talked about her based to unseat President Weah. And now we are here at the fans' favorite part of the Hard Zone, the icebreaker round, where we get questions from our production team. Question outside of politics or outside of national issues, just to cool off from the discussion. Bishop Hager, what industry do you think will boom in Liberia?
Well, I spent many years in the Ivory Coast, and the economy of Ivory Coast is heavily based on agriculture.
Yeah.
And I tell you, the agricultural sector in Liberia is the way forward for Liberia to boom in the economy.
Mm-hmm.
I just gave you statistic, just simple thing, the bananas. Tropical fruit from Ivory Coast, they are exporting more than $3 billion worth of bananas. That's huge.
Right.
And I just tell you a joke before I leave you. It's a Togo president. Togo went to Hofobonyi because the report is that Ivory Coast had a portion of Liberia land. And Hofobonyi told Togo, listen, you can't add bush to bush. He said, the land that you have, you're doing nothing with it. Why would you want to add another land and you will not do anything with it? So that's how the Kavala rubber plantation business came and the power industry came in the southeast. Let me tell you something. If I have the resources going to Liberia, if I can get investors, massive investment in agriculture will transform Liberia in the next 10 years.
Right.
Thank you very much. Let me move to you. Let me come to you, Reverend Addy. The question is, name one industry you think can boost the economy of Liberia, if nurture, and why? And please keep your response brief because we're running against time.
Don't worry, I'm not going to preach. I got the international. My church, currently as it is, takes women and women off the streets. We also take care of children. So when I think of industry as the procurement of raw materials, processing it into becoming finished goods, human resource capacity development. I like the idea of food security and agriculture. None of these things can be a reality if we don't have the human resource capacity to manage and foster development in a wholesome functioning society, in the words of President Wilmar Talbot. So my focus will be human capacity development. Liberia is at a very serious crossroads where every Liberian, whether you're in the diaspora or not, should be able to educate a child if we must move our nation forward. You can get all of the foreign direct investments, if you don't have the human capacity to manage what's coming into the country, expatriate will run our country and will consistently have capital flight. So until we take a very serious look at education, Liberia remains in dire straits.
That's right.
Thank you. Lord Choppy Charlie, you're next.
Well, I think people talking about food product processing. I'm on similar line, but I'll say that I'll use a different framework, agribusiness system. Agribusiness system, we're talking about the same food, fiber, wood product, natural resources, horticulture, and other plant and animal productions in the country. I think those things are the fastest way to grow the economy, create jobs, and what the economy called multiplier effects can take place.
Thank you very much, Blue Jay Choppy Charlie. Let's move on to you, Bobby Mitchell Crawford.
My background is in criminal justice and political science, but I'll focus on criminal justice. So the sort of business I would carry in Liberia would be, it would mimic what we have here, the 911 system, to create similar thing like that in Liberia so that they can address some of the emergency need that the citizen has.
Thank you, Bobby Mitchell Crawford. Let's move on to you. Let's come back to you, Mr. Ja Winkin Weir.
I don't know what I can put it as an industry, but here's what I think about Liberia. Because everything you need in Liberia, you come to Monrovia. So if you were to build, like you say in the major cities of Liberia, the 15 capital cities, if you were to build warehouses, where people will they don't have to travel to Monrovia, you get a company that will do all this stuff, something like that. That's what I'm thinking about, because transportation is very expensive. So instead of moving to Monrovia, but the people got places to go to pick up stuff. So Crawfords can be here and buy something. The person will be in Virginia and pick it up. Somebody will be so if you establish that kind of stuff, it will be very useful in Liberia.
Thank you very much. And before I come to you, Madam Cooper, I don't know if this will fall under an industry, but I think one sector that, if nurtured, will boost the economy is the sports sector, specifically soccer. And this is one of my disappointments with President Weir, because I think that if anyone could have boosted the economy through sports or soccer, President Weir was that person. If you look around if you look around the continent, our neighbor Sierra Leone, they put money into soccer. They have their national league. Ghana, Cameroon with Samuel Eto'o got their national league and stuff like that. So president or whoever become president of Liberia, I feel if they nurture that sector, because Liberia, we do have the talent. So if you put money into soccer, we have the county meet, put more money into the county meet, and establish a national league where people will showcase their talents, and people from around the world will come to scout players. I think it's going to boost the economy and it's going to improve Liberian lives. Those that are involved with it, and those that play soccer and those that also watch it, I think that sector is actually going to boost the economy. And let me come to you, Madam MacDella Cooper. What is your contribution to our icebreaker round? What industry do you think, if nurtured, will boost the economy of Liberia?
Well, I strongly agree with all of the proposals that everyone made, or at least its suggestions. But like Reverend Addie said, without an educated workforce, without a trained workforce, none of these jobs will ever mean anything to anyone. And so it is very important for us to heavily invest in job and skill training, rehabilitation of our young people over the traditional education. When I say traditional education, I mean the standardized education, first through to 12, and then college. But there have been so many young people who have dropped out of the education system, and they find themselves being at an adult age, but they just don't have the job and skill set, or it's job ready and skill set that they need to function at any job. So I talked about three sectors I really want to invest in: agriculture, which I think few of the panelists have agreed. Agriculture. We talked about fishery. Fishery is very important. We shouldn't have foreign nations fishing our waters and selling, the residue to us and carrying the good ones overseas and making more money. We also want to heavily invest in tourism. And then you have other things like, of course, Crawford talked about, law enforcement. Law and order is very important to keep the investors in country because no one wants to go to a place where the investment is not protected. And so law and order is super important. So I think collectively, we need an educated society. We need a skillful and job ready, society, and we do need, we need education. We need, agriculture. We need food, which is part of food security. We need folks to work in healthcare and also all of the different sectors across. So for me, I will not pick one, but I will stick with what I mentioned earlier. Those three sectors, the alternative sectors.
Thank you so much, Madam Cooper. And at this point, we would like to go around again and get your closing statement from all of you panelists. And this is not another round of question to Madam Cooper. This is your closing statement on the show tonight. And so I would like to start with you, Blue J Choppy Charlie. Close out on the Horizon episode 9.
Well, it's always a good thing to have this conversation, and we look forward to having more and grilling down those expiring for public office in the country. We need to have more information about what needs to be done for the country in terms of. I'm more particularly about timeline. I'm more particular about cost because a lot of time we talk about these big development programs, but we don't add cost and timeline to it. So, but it was good, and we really appreciate your presence here, Madam Cooper. It was very refreshing. It's good to see women in our country taking the bull by the horn. I'm always impressed when I see women come in the public square and trying to be forceful. I think it's good for all of us to do those things. So I'm very much happy for that.
Thank you very much. Let's go to you, Bobby Mitchell Crawford.
I was thrilled to see the Alexander Benedict Cummings. I'm going to go there. STEM school put out their first graduate. And 10 of those students get a full scholarship to travel abroad. So that's something good. And I will see you guys in Maryland for the convention.
Thank you.
That's all I wanted to say.
Let's move on to you, Mr. Ja Winkin Weir. Give us
I would like to say thank you to Madam Cooper for joining us tonight. It shouldn't be your last time. What I like to say is that Liberia is for all Liberians, right, whether you are male or female. I want for other people, especially girls that are watching you, to know that they can be like you or they can even be more like you. That's right. Even today, you are contesting for the presidency of Liberia. If you are non-successful, it can be any of the females who are coming up today. So I will encourage all girls to participate in the Liberian political process. This is not only for men. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to you, Bishop Hager.
Well, I'm very, very happy talking to Madam. I wish you all the best in your political sojourn. I want to speak to the Liberian people. Liberia is a blessed nation. We just need to get the right leadership. If we make the right decision, I can predict that in the next couple of years, Liberia will be the pride of many, many countries in Africa. We have the resources, the human capacity. We just really need to put our act together, be more patriotic, and put the leadership of the country in competent hands. I wish you all the best. I know the journey is going to be very tough because there's a lot of roadblocks, but may God help you. And we'll be always willing to come. And we all love Liberia as you do, passionate about Liberia. My church, we have 2 schools in Liberia. We're investing in human capacity there. Mm-hmm. We know that that's the way to go. And we will talk to you and see how best, whatever we can do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bishop Hager. Let's come to you, Reverend Adi.
Well, I want to first of all thank the panelists and thank Madam Cooper for allowing us such a privilege of her time to ask her questions. I certainly bless your endeavors for the presidency. And I'm certainly looking forward to hearing your plans in depth for the way forward. And I certainly appreciate your being on the shore to stand up to all these guys and answer their questions. To my friend Chappie Charlie, I know you're often looking for solutions, but Tunisians must understand that we can't talk solutions without highlighting the problems. And the problems in this government has to be highlighted so that we can talk solutions. We don't hate George Weah. We just want the best for the country. And if it's Miss Cooper will be the touch bearer for that best, inconsistent with what we have now, then she carries the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Addy. And there's one thing about Reverend Addy. I don't care whether we're doing the regular high Zoom or an exclusive interview. He was always found a way to take a dig at Blue J Choppy Charlie. I just thought to point. I just thought to point that out.
Continent gentleness.
Let him have some fun. Let him have some fun.
My brother, Chappie is my brother. He knows what I'm talking about.
Well, seriously though, before I get to you, Madam Cooper, to close out, I would like to say thank you for honoring the invitation to be here on the High Zone, and also to my panelists. Again, job well done. You guys did extremely well with your line of questioning, like every episode. And I must say, you guys live up to the aim of this show to put a different spin to how political trends are processed in Liberia. And to you, Madam Cooper, to close out, I personally don't see why you shouldn't be president of Liberia. I don't see it. And it's not because you're a Liberian woman or because or what you have been through. It is because I personally feels like that you're a true patriot who understands the plight of the Liberian people. You understand the issues. You understand what they are going through. And I think you should continue your bid, not just to unseat President Weah, but to become, even if this election passes, to become president of Liberia. I think someone like you needs to be president for ailing Liberia. So I must admonish you, and I'm a big fan of you. And
manager now, man.
And I must admonish you though, keep doing the work you're doing, and you will only win if you continue to do what you do. Thank you very much. Now I'll give you the opportunity to close out on the house on tonight, and then after
now
that,
we know political leaning now. He been hauling himself.
I've never had myself on any with my political leaning.
Madam Cooper just kind of rub on him.
Yeah, he caught. He's
I've been my supporter for a long time.
I never said. You know what? You get a woman making me a supporter now. I can't. Now
I never support you by capping manager. Everything, don't worry.
Everything,
you know, we will bring out that law enforcement man on the other side. We'll bring our side. Don't worry. We get into.
We'll hire Bobby to do a lot of research.
Look at man.
Like Bobby, what did I say? 2005. Again, what I said? Remind me now. I was just reminding me everything I said before.
You know, go back to what you saying about it.
Yes, I
got research on that. So, but thank you so much, though. Thank you so much for coming on the house on tonight, and let me give you the opportunity to close out.
All right. No, I want to thank all of you. And I wish you would leave the screen back. I want to make sure I mention everyone's name. To all of the panelists, I want to really thank you guys. This was more fun than a hard Zoom. I think I know Blow J wanted me to go in more details about numbers. We could definitely do another show on numbers. I like numbers. That's what I've always been about. You know, I worked on Wall Street, and my time, consulting on Wall Street was all about numbers. What's the numbers? How high are we? How low are we? And that's what we try to rectify. And so for me, being on this show this evening, when I heard it was a hard zone, I thought, what could be really hard? We are Liberians. We know the issue. We live with the people. We understand the pulse of the people. And we want to make sure we bring Liberia to where it needs to be. Look, I'm a proud Liberian woman. And I've always said it from day one. And I wish that was quoted over and over. Folks can testify that I have never done anything more than just giving to my country. I've spent 20 years of my adult life invested in Liberia, not just people from my tribe, not just people who look like me as a woman, but investing in the future of Liberia. And that is why I think Liberia needs someone who has a future to look forward to, so that they can understand it, because they most likely understand the needs of the young people and try to create a future where young people can have jobs, have access to the things they need to make their lives and their lives for their family better. We want a Liberia that works for all Liberians. Like Liberians in diaspora, as I said many other times before, they retire in the United States, they retire in the diaspora, they want a home to come to. And I want to build a Liberia that they can come to, with the amenities they are accustomed to. I don't want to just enrich myself. I know I'm going to say something controversial here, so Crawford can quote me again. But if I'm looking for wealth and power, it is on Wall Street, not home. Home is where I want to build to raise my children. And so I'm not on this platform trying to look for power. I'm not desperate for power. I am desperate for the power to bring about real change in our country that will benefit all people, whether you call yourself a countryman child or a civilized man child. We got to create a Liberia that works for all Liberians. And I think it was Reverend Addy that said it before and said it so loud and clear. Liberia for all Liberians. And that is what I believe in. And so, gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for this opportunity. Jaweekend, Derek, Bishop Hagar, Reverend Addy, Lil J, Seditian. we still love you. The ANC, I know that he and Alice coming can shop in the same place that look like they dress alike. But we still love you. We still love you. May God bless all of you guys. I really had a fantastic time on here, and I wish I would see women on here more often next time. But it was great to be here. May God bless all of you and have a wonderful week.
Thank you so much. And just before I draw the curtain to this episode, I would like to make two. I was told to make two announcements. So let me get the Delaware County Immigrant Coalition under the Palaver Hall for conversation with the candidates. I think I announced this last week. So on Thursday, October 13th, 2022, between the hours of 6 to 8 p.m., the Delaware County Immigrant Coalition will host a dialogue that carried the theme conversation with the candidate. And my production team will post the link to the website so you can get more information on that. And also October 14 to 16, the ANC Global Convention. My production team want me to announce that we will be carrying that convention live on our Facebook and YouTube pages. That does not mean there's network support or don't support the ANC, but that is the announcement we would like to make. The Lrtn will be covering that convention live. But guys,
it's a pay announcement. They pay you to announce it. So
they ain't kidding, man. You should another story.
I was in part of the hard zone. So, but again, guys, it's been a nice. I think close to 3 hours with all of you. And again, Madam Cooper, thank you so much for coming. And I would like to draw the curtain on this one. Continue to follow the Liberia Radio and Television Network and continue to follow.
I still have the picture that we talk together for the Women of Success.
We would do that.
Women of Success. Yes.
All right.
Thank you, guys. We will see you another time.